Chapter 1. In the center of the boundless universe, a seven-colored stream of light cut through the void. One could vaguely see an ancient cauldron at the center of the seven-colored stream of light. The ancient cauldron was covered with strange inscriptions and emitted a mysterious aura. Heavenly Temple, Immortal World. This was the depths of the boundless immortal world, the residence of the current ruler of the immortal world, the Heavenly Temple Immortal Emperor. Could this aura be? In the depths of the residence, a white-robed old man with an immortal aura closed his eyes and made hand seals. The next moment, his expression changed drastically, and he stood up. Divine, immortal, refining cauldron. The white-robed old man was suddenly awakened. The current ruler of the immortal world was the Heavenly Temple Immortal Emperor, and he was a golden immortal under the Heavenly Temple Immortal Emperor. His title was Divine Divination. The divine immortal refining cauldron has descended. The immortal world might face a catastrophe. No, I have to report this to the immortal emperor. The white-robed old man made a few more hand seals with a solemn expression. The next moment, his body turned into a stream of smoke and flew toward the heavenly temple in the center. Divine Divination, Golden Immortal. You said that the divine immortal refining cauldron has appeared. At the center of the heavenly temple, a black-haired middle-aged man in a black robe stood quietly. His gaze fell on a white-robed old man below. His expression was dignified, and his temperament was extraordinary. He was the current ruler of the immortal world, the Heavenly Temple Immortal Emperor. Immortal Emperor, my divination will not be wrong. The divine cauldron has descended. The immortal vanquishing illusion has appeared in the southeast of Black Star. The white-robed old man's expression was solemn. He was one of the Heavenly Temple Immortal Emperor's trusted subordinates. He was proficient in divination and could foresee the future. He could even deduce the cycle of life and death. However, the price he had to pay was his lifespan. This time, the white-robed old man had lost 5,000 years of his lifespan when he deduced that the divine cauldron had descended. Even a legendary golden immortal would only have 15,000 years of lifespan. Ha! Immortal vanquishing illusion. What a great immortal vanquishing illusion. Has the divine immortal refining cauldron descended on the Black Star continent? I'd like to see what mysteries the legendary divine immortal refining cauldron has. The heaven-reaching immortal emperor let out a long laugh. His face was ferocious, and his eyes, which were as deep as the galaxy, were filled with killing intent. Pass down this immortal emperor's order. Earth Immortal Tao Qian is to immediately head to the mortal world's Xianxing continent and bring back the immortal refining cauldron. This subordinate obeys. As soon as the sky-reaching celestial emperor finished speaking, a black-robed young man with starry eyes and leopard-like eyes quietly appeared in the hall. The next moment, he cupped his hands and greeted respectfully. He seemed to be the Earth Immortal Tao Qian that the sky-reaching celestial emperor had mentioned. Although the strength of an Earth Immortal was weaker than that of a Golden Immortal, it was still enough to sweep across many continents in the mortal world. Xianxing Continent, Dachu Dynasty, Qingyang County, little beggar, call me Grandpa. Grandpa will give you money to buy some biscuits. On the street of the bazaar, a few rich young masters in luxurious clothes were laughing mockingly. At the same time, they had forced a down-and-out youth who was covered in dirt and in tattered clothes into a corner. Their words were filled with disdain, and they seemed to take pleasure in teasing the youth. Sir, please do me a favor." The abject youth seemed to be a beggar. At this time, facing the humiliation of the crowd, there was not the slightest dissatisfaction on his face. He actually knelt on the spot and begged repeatedly. "You're quite obedient," one of the men in a brocade robe sneered. In the next moment, he tossed a few copper coins to the ground. In the Dacha dynasty, although a few copper coins were not much, it was enough to buy a few buns or even a meal. To the poor beggars on the streets, these copper coins were even more precious. "Thank you, Grandpa." When he saw the copper coins rolling toward him on the ground, the abject youth's eyes lit up. A smile appeared on his filthy face. He seized the opportunity to grab the copper coins, as if he had seen a life-saving straw. "Hey, hold on." Before he could straighten his hand, another sarcastic voice sounded. Bam! One of the brocade-robed man's companions suddenly extended his left foot and stepped on the copper coins. In the next moment, the abject youth felt a sharp pain on the back of his hand. He wanted to retract his hand, but he could not move. He looked furious. "You, Grandpa has changed his mind. Giving money to trash like you, who only knows how to beg, is a waste. You want to eat biscuits? Go eat shit." Ha ha! The brocade-robed man and his companions laughed out loud. In the next moment, they kicked the abject youth who was kneeling on the ground to the corner of the wall. Their expressions were full of disdain, as if they were looking at trash. "Damn you guys!" Lowering his head, the abject youth's dark eyes were full of anger. However, his thin and weak body could not exert any strength. At this moment, he was curled up in the corner of the wall. His pair of small hands were secretly clenched, as if his heart was full of unwillingness. The abject youth's name was Fei Ren. Although his name did not sound good and his background was not good, he was ambitious. He had a dream of practicing martial arts since he was young. After all, in the Dacha dynasty, if one did not practice martial arts, he would never be able to make a name for himself. He could only be a commoner for the rest of his life. In the Black Star continent, martial arts were respected. People who practiced elemental force could strengthen their bodies and increase their strength greatly. There were even people who broke through the shackles of lifespan and ascended. However, this was limited to ancient myths and legends. Farron had never seen it and had only heard of it. As for the Dacha dynasty, it was located in the southeast corner of the Black Star continent. In the vast and boundless Black Star continent, there were many dynasties and empires similar to the Dacha dynasty. There were even super sects and martial artists who practiced martial arts were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. Only by practicing martial arts and cultivating elemental force could one become above others and change one's destiny. In the Black Star continent, elemental force was respected. Farron only knew 3 realms: body refining, middle fusion, and high star. Each realm was divided into 10 levels. As long as one could condense elemental force in one's dantian, one would officially step into the body refining realm. Body refining realm martial artists used elemental force to temper their bodies and increase their strength. In the Dachu dynasty, the body refining realm was only the foundation. Most of the martial artists had the strength of the body refining realm. Only by breaking through the middle fusion realm could one be considered an expert. If one stepped into the high star realm, one could be conferred the title of king and become a feudal lord. Thinking of this, Farron couldn't help but clench his teeth. A trace of blood seeped out of his lips. His parents had died when he was young. He had suffered countless hardships and tribulations. He had lived a lowly life until now. Naturally, he wouldn't give up because of a little humiliation. 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. Don't bully the young for being poor. Looking at the backs of the rich young masters in the market swaggering away, Farron secretly clenched his fists. His filthy face flashed with a trace of determination and ruthlessness. Fortunately, the copper coins are still here. Shifting his gaze, Farron saw that the copper coins were still on the ground. A trace of gratification flashed across his face. He immediately stretched out his hand and put the copper coins into his bosom. He then let out a sigh of relief. Damn it! Just you wait for this young master. Fiercely spitting, Farron glanced at the direction the rich young masters left. His face was ashen. Although he was good at concealing his inner emotions, it didn't mean that he didn't hold grudges. On the contrary, Farron was a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. If someone bullied him, he would return it 10 times. Even if a dog bit him, he would bite back no matter what. Chapter 2. On a deserted hill, mist spread everywhere. At the same time, the air was filled with the nauseating smell of blood, making it difficult for people to step in. This seemed to be a mass grave. Damn it, the smell of the dead is so unpleasant. Suddenly, Fei Rin's head quietly popped out from behind a rock, his eyes bright. He had finished the sesame seed cake in his hand. For tomorrow's livelihood, Fei Rin had no choice but to come to this mass grave to try his luck. He wanted to see if he could make a fortune from the dead and plunder some valuables. Damn it! Ugh! Looking around, Fei Rin happened to see a black toad crawling out from a dead person's head. The dead person's head was white and yellow, and there seemed to be maggots wriggling in it. He immediately felt his stomach churn and vomited on the spot. I'll never come back again. Looking at his vomit on the ground, Fei Rin felt that the sesame seed cake he ate in the afternoon was wasted. His face was ugly, and in the next moment he tiptoed to another part of the mass grave. Fei Rin heard from a beggar that there were many more corpses in the mass grave today, and they were all bandits killed by the soldiers of the Dacha dynasty. Although most of the valuables were taken away by the soldiers, mosquito meat was still meat, and it was better than nothing. Damn it, why are they all so clean? They're even poorer than me. Fei Rin's face was ugly as he scurried around the mass grave and turned over many corpses. These dead bandits were all poor and had nothing on them. The only valuable thing was their clothes, but these bandits' clothes were stained with blood, dirty, and messy. They were even more tattered than what Fei Rin was wearing, so he would definitely not pick them up. Ugh! In the mass grave, a weak breath slowly came out. In the next moment, a young bandit covered in blood struggled to crawl out from the pile of corpses. His eyes were full of murderous intent as he stared at Fei Rin, who was shuttling back and forth in the pile of corpses. Look again. Not discouraged, Fei Rin slipped to another pile of corpses and began to search, unaware that a fatal danger was quietly approaching. What the hell is this? After rummaging for a while, Fei Rin found a small and exquisite ancient cauldron from one of the corpses. He pulled it down and saw that the ancient cauldron was covered with strange inscriptions. However, the inscriptions were dim and did not seem to be anything special. It's an antique, so it should be worth some money. Fei Rin held the small ancient cauldron in his hand and played with it a few times. His eyes were filled with doubt as he put it away. Although he didn't know what it was better than nothing. Die! At this moment, a shrill voice exploded like thunder. Fei Rin only felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. The next moment, he turned around in horror and saw a corpse covered in blood suddenly crawling up. At this moment, the corpse was holding a steel knife. The blade was deeply stabbed into his lower abdomen, causing him to bleed profusely. Zombie! The pain in his abdomen also stimulated the nerves in Fei Rin's brain. He didn't know where the strength came from, but Fei Rin kicked the corpse in front of him with all his might. In an instant, the corpse in front of him was sent flying, and then it crashed into a rock. Dead. After taking a closer look, Fei Rin realized that the one who attacked him was not a zombie, but a bandit who was on the verge of death. This bandit was probably not completely dead yet. When he saw him plundering the wealth of the dead, he suddenly attacked him. It's over. I can't stop the bleeding. Before Fei Rin could think more, another sharp pain came from his abdomen. Streams of blood flowed out uncontrollably. Even if Fei Rin desperately covered the wound with his hands, it was useless. Am I going to die here today? Thinking of this, Fei Rin's face suddenly turned ugly. He felt extremely aggrieved. This dying bandit's attack was very fatal. The knife directly hit his vital point, but he didn't want to die yet. I don't want to. In the next moment, Fei Rin's head tilted and he fainted. It seemed that because of the excessive blood loss, Fei Rin's last bit of consciousness also slowly dissipated. Right at this moment, the small and exquisite ancient cauldron in Fei Rin's bosom emitted an indescribable light. In the next moment, it actually entered Fei Rin's body and completely disappeared. At the same time, the bloodstains on his abdomen slowly coagulated and gradually healed. It was extremely bizarre. However, Fei Rin could not see this scene. After an unknown period of time, Fei Rin finally opened his eyes. He then pushed away the corpses beside him and struggled to get up from the ground. His face was filled with shock and bewilderment. I'm not dead. What's going on? Just a moment ago, he seemed to have had a very long dream. He dreamed that he picked up a small ancient cauldron, then was attacked. Then, the ancient cauldron entered his body and saved his life. The wound is also gone. Suddenly waking up, Fei-Ren hurriedly reached out to touch his abdomen. He found that everything was intact, and there were no traces of injuries. Ugh, so smelly. Raising his hand and smelling his sleeve, Fei-Ren couldn't help but frown. At this moment, his entire body was filled with energy, and his eyes and ears were clear. It was as if he had gone through a cleansing of his muscles and marrow. His already dirty clothes became even dirtier, and at the same time, his body was filled with a foul stench. Could it be that everything that happened in the dream was real? That small ancient cauldron entered my body. Feeling the explosive power in his body, Fei-Ren subconsciously reached out with his left hand and grabbed a rock. With a light pinch, the rock turned into powder. It was obvious that his Dantian had already opened up with Yuan power, and he was no longer an ordinary person. This is the power of Yuan power. I, Fei-Ren, have finally become a martial artist. Thinking of this, Fei-Ren couldn't suppress the joy in his heart. He immediately let out a long howl towards the sky. The expression on his face was difficult to contain. Even his thin and weak body was slightly trembling. A whole 15 years. Fei-Ren had finally become the martial artist that he dreamed of. Although he was only at the first level of the body refinement realm and his strength was very weak, he had successfully taken the first step. The ancient cauldron disappeared. After searching his body, Fei-Ren's face was filled with doubt. He discovered that the small ancient cauldron that he had picked up from the pile of corpses had disappeared. It seemed that it had really merged into his body. This is circulating his Yuan power and looking inside his Dantian. Fei-Ren's expression was filled with shock. His eyes couldn't help but widen as if he had seen something inconceivable. He only saw a small ancient cauldron quietly floating in the center of his Dantian. The ancient cauldron was densely covered with inscriptions. At this moment, it was dim and lifeless, as if it had been severely damaged. Just as Fei-Ren was in shock and confusion, a sharp pain suddenly came from his head. In the next moment, he saw a ray of light fly out from the small ancient cauldron and enter the depths of his consciousness. This is the divine immortal cauldron. The sharp pain in his head dissipated slightly. Fei-Ren subconsciously exclaimed. Just a moment ago, a lot of unprecedented knowledge suddenly appeared in his mind, including the origin and power of the small ancient cauldron in front of him. It was as if he had been enlightened. The small ancient cauldron in front of him was called the divine immortal cauldron. It was one of the most precious treasures of the immortal Tao that was born during the primordial era of the universe. Its power was through the heavens and the earth, and it had the ability to kill immortals and gods. Moreover, it could refine all things in the world to increase one's cultivation and strength. In the furnace of the divine immortal cauldron, regardless of whether it was plants, birds, beasts, or rare treasures, immortal herbs, anything could be refined and absorbed. It could be said that it could refine all things. Refine all things. Now that I have this most precious treasure of the immortal Tao, as long as the divine immortal cauldron is in my hands, I will step onto the peak of martial arts in the future. I might even challenge the entire Xianxing continent. What do I have to fear? Feeling the power of the divine immortal cauldron in his Dantian, Fei-Ren could not help but let out a long howl. His fists were clenched tightly, and his face was wild with joy. However, a man's wealth is his own ruin. My current strength is too weak, and I am only at the first level of the body refinement realm. Not to mention the vast Xianxing continent. Even the Dacha dynasty is filled with experts. I have to keep a low profile and not let the secret of the divine immortal cauldron be exposed. After a moment of ecstasy, Fei-Ren's face gradually regained its calm as he thought to himself. Although the divine immortal cauldron was very powerful, Fei-Ren did not let it go to his head. Currently, he was still unable to fully unleash the power of the divine immortal cauldron. With his strength at the first level of the body refinement realm, not to mention refining all things, even refining a wild beast would be a little difficult. Divine Cauldron appear. With a thought, Fei Ren activated his origin energy. In the next moment, the divine Immortal Cauldron appeared out of thin air and landed in his palm. After an hour of exploration, Fei Ren was more or less clear about the use and power of the divine Immortal Cauldron. Now that the divine cauldron had merged into his body, as long as he had enough origin energy, he could summon the divine cauldron at will. I have to fill my stomach first, then increase my strength. Thinking until here, Fei Ren's face was filled with thoughts. Then, he flipped his palm and kept the divine Immortal Cauldron. At the same time, he slowly got up and ran out of the mass grave. Chapter 3. Fei Ren grew up at the bottom of the Dacha dynasty, and the Dacha dynasty was located at the southeast end of the Xianxin continent, belonging to the southeast region. In the southeast region, there were many powerful dynasties like the Dacha dynasty, and there were countless martial arts experts. To these people, a refinement realm martial artist like Fei Ren was like an ant that could be easily squashed to death. However, Fei Ren did not think too far ahead. He only thought about how to survive and then make a name for himself in the Azure Sun County. At the very least, he wanted to become a respected martial artist. The place where Fei Ren lived was called Wuhan Town. Wuhan Town was a small town in the Azure Sun County of the Dacha dynasty. It was backed by the Hungduan mountain range, and the Hungduan mountain range was one of the many mountain ranges in the Dacha dynasty. There were many daunting magical beasts living there, and there were many powerful magical beasts that could easily tear apart human martial artists. These magical beasts were different from ordinary wild beasts. They had magic in their bodies, and not only were they not weaker than ordinary human martial artists, but a small number of magical beasts had also awakened their intelligence. They were cunning and ferocious, not inferior to human martial artists. To human martial artists, although these magical beasts were dangerous, they were also very valuable. Because magical beasts were born with magic cores, these magic cores could be used as materials for refining pills or even refining weapons, and were very precious. Some magical beast bones and fur could also be sold for a good price, so there were many hunter groups that hunted magical beasts for a living near the Hungduan mountain range. After a while, Fei Ren left the mass grave and returned to Wuhan Town. Although I've stepped into the first level of the body refinement realm and become a martial artist, only by joining a sect can I obtain martial arts and cultivation resources to increase my strength. Fei Ren thought in his heart. There was only one third-rate force, the Iron Palm School, within 100 miles of Wuhan Town. The Iron Palm School had many disciples under it, and the current Iron Palm School master was a Zhanghe realm expert with powerful strength. Yo, isn't this Fei Ren? Little trash, you're still alive? At this moment, a sarcastic voice came from the distance. In the next moment, a youth in brocade clothes slowly walked over with a folding fan in his hand. At this moment, he looked at Fei Ren with a playful expression and a mocking tone. Lu Qi. Fei Ren narrowed his eyes and clenched his fists as he turned to look at the arrogant and despotic young man in embroidered clothes. The young man in front of him was named Lu Qi. He was the eldest son of Squire Lu of Wuhan Town. Although he was handsome, he was very narrow-minded and ruthless. He had been tyrannical in Wuhan Town for many years, and no one dared to provoke him. In the past, Fei Ren had been bullied by him many times, and he had even almost died once. Little trash, what's with that look? Do you want to die? Seeing Fei Ren's icy cold gaze, the young man in embroidered clothes called Lu Qi revealed a displeased expression. He immediately snorted coldly and stepped forward with the intention of grabbing Fei Ren's shoulder. Although Lu Qi was young and was about the same age as Fei Ren, his skills were not bad. In the early years, Squire Lu had spent a lot of money to hire a disciple of the Iron Palm School to teach Lu Qi martial arts. However, Lu Qi's talent was too low. After several years of practice, he had not opened up his dantian. He had only learned a little and could not even be called a martial artist. Bang! His palm heavily grabbed Fei Ren's left shoulder. Lu Qi's expression changed slightly. Although he had learned some martial arts and his strength was not weak, Fei Ren's body stood firmly in the same place. No matter how much force he exerted, Fei Run was still as immovable as a mountain. "You have not even grasped Dantian. You are not my opponent." With a cold expression, Fei Run calmly looked at Lu Qi. The corner of his mouth slightly raised, revealing a trace of mockery. It was just like Lu Qi's mockery from before. It was even more strange. "Dantian, just by you little trash. How is that possible?" Just as he finished speaking, Lu Qi's face turned red like a pig's liver. He had followed a disciple of the Iron Palm School for many years and still had not opened up his Dantian. The Fei Run in front of him was just a nameless beggar who did not even have enough to eat. "Go to hell." Thinking of this, the furious Lu Qi also roared. He waved his right fist and smashed towards Fei Ren's heart meridian, aiming for a vital point. Shwa! Crack! Before the fist arrived, Fei Ren lightly extended his left hand and instantly blocked it. At the same time, his 5 fingers closed together, and then he suddenly twisted his hand. The force was so great that it actually dislocated Lu Qi's entire arm. Immediately, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. "Ah! Ah! My hand!" Feeling an intense pain coming from his arm, Lu Qi also screamed in the next moment. His body then rolled on the ground. The intense pain caused Lu Qi's originally handsome face to twist together. The corner of his mouth twitched and trembled. He did not have the slightest bit of the appearance of a rich family's disciple. He was in an extremely sorry state. "Lu Qi, you called me a little trash before. Now that you are worse than a little trash, what kind of trash are you?" When he saw Lu Qi's ugly appearance, Fei Ren crossed his arms in front of his chest and mocked. You, don't come over. Fei Ren, my father is Squire Lu. If you dare to kill me, he will definitely not let you go." After having one of his arms crippled, even if Lu Qi was stupid, he knew the difference between him and Fei Ren. His expression was terrified and his eyes were filled with fear. In the next moment, he shouted loudly as if he was afraid that Fei Ren would attack again. "Don't worry, I won't kill you, because you are not worthy." Glancing at the terrified Lu Qi, Fei Ren's eyes were cold. He then turned and left. Lu Qi, who was paralyzed on the ground, had a pale face. At the same time, there was a wet patch between his legs. It was obvious that he was scared to the point of peeing. Before he became a sect disciple, Fei Ren did not want to cause any trouble. Lu Qi was the eldest son of Wu and town Squire Lu. If he killed him, there would be a lot of trouble. Currently, he was only at the first level of the body refinement stage. Even if he had the refining Immortal Cauldron, it would be difficult for him to deal with some powerful fighters. "Fei Ren, this young master will definitely kill you, tear you into pieces." Clenching his teeth, looking at Fei Ren's gradually leaving figure, Lu Qi's pale face flashed with cruelty and resentment. Tomorrow is the day that the Iron Palm Gate recruits new disciples. Whether this young master can make the great leap all depends on tomorrow, Fei Ren said in his heart. In the next moment, his footsteps quickened as he ran out of the town. The encampment of the Iron Palm School was located in a nameless mountain range more than 100 miles away from Wuhan town. Normally, the gates of the Iron Palm School would be closed, and it would only be open during the annual recruitment of new disciples. At that time, it would also attract a large number of young juniors from the surrounding villages. These people all wanted to join the sect, practice martial arts, and become a respected martial artist. In the Xian Star Continent, there were as many sects as there were stars in the sky. They were divided into 9 ranks. Rank 1 was respected, and rank 9 was the lowest. Most of them had strong foundations and had been established for many years. As for the sects that were not ranked, they were called forces. They were further divided into first, second, and third-rate forces. Although the Iron Palm Gate was only a third-rate force, to Wuhan town and the surrounding villages, it was already an extremely powerful existence. The martial artists and rogue cultivators in the surrounding villages, and even some of the hunter group experts, were all polite when they saw the Iron Palm Gate disciples. This was enough to show the strength of the sect. Moreover, the Iron Palm Gate sect leader, Guo Huai, was a middle reunion expert. His cultivation had reached the second level of the Middle Reunion realm. His strength was incomparably strong, and it was difficult to find a match for him in the entire Wuhan town. Although Wuhan town was located at the foot of the Hengduan mountain range, where magical beasts frequently appeared, and there were many hunter group experts who entered the mountains to hunt magical beasts. However, the strength of these hunter group experts was still 1,000 miles away from the Iron Palm Gate. Even a leader's cultivation was at most at the 8th to 9th level of the body refinement realm. He was definitely not a match for the Iron Palm Gate sect leader. Chapter 4. Outside Wuhan town, in a dense forest, a wisp of smoke floated up from the kitchen. At the same time, a tempting meat fragrance spread out, seeping into one's heart. This, even without seasoning. The spirit rabbit meat is still so fragrant. Fei Ren was sitting cross-legged on an empty patch of grass. Next to him was a wooden bonfire. At this moment, he was leisurely roasting meat skewers. Bursts of fragrance wafted over, causing people to salivate and have a great appetite. Awesome. Picking up a skewer of rabbit leg meat, Fei Ren opened his mouth and tore off a piece. Then he swallowed it. At the same time, a trace of satisfaction appeared on his handsome face as he could not help but sigh. The spirit rabbit was one of the most common wild beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. It was agile, but its strength was weak. It could not even be considered the lowest level of mortal rank magical beast. There was basically no magic power in its body, let alone a priceless magic core. For hunters who entered the mountains to hunt, as well as some hunter groups who hunted magical beasts, spirit rabbits were also the most common meat. They were often hunted for barbecue or made into bacon. After eating and drinking, it's time to get down to business. After eating the last skewer of spirit rabbit meat in his hand, Fei Ren patted his stomach in satisfaction. At the same time, he stood up and stepped on the fire. His handsome face was filled with determination. Although the taste of the spirit rabbit meat was not top-notch, it was enough to fill his stomach. Moreover, compared to eating and drinking, Fei Ren had more important things to do. Immortal refining cauldron, appear. With a thought, Fei Ren mobilized the Dantian's origin energy and shouted at the same time. Swish! In the blink of an eye, a small ancient cauldron appeared in front of Fei Ren. At this moment, it was emitting a mysterious aura, as if it contained the truth of the world, making it difficult to grasp. The immortal refining cauldron could refine all things, and, at the same time, increase the host's strength. Now that the host of the immortal refining cauldron was Fei Ren, he naturally would not waste such an immortal treasure. I wonder how much this snake truss grass can raise my cultivation base. Fei Ren's gaze was fixed on the immortal refining cauldron floating in front of him. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and then took out a strange medicinal herb from his bosom with a nervous expression. The immortal refining cauldron could refine all things and then increase the host's cultivation. As for the effects, Fei Ren did not know, so he decided to give it a try himself. Fei Ren was only at the first level of the body refinement realm, and the essence force in his Dantian was negligible. Every time he summoned the immortal refining cauldron, it would consume more than half of his essence force. In a day, Fei Ren could only summon the immortal refining cauldron a few times, so he wasn't willing to waste this opportunity. The strange medicinal herb in Fei Ren's hand was black-leafed and three-petaled. It was called the snake truss grass because it was shaped like the tongue of a venomous snake. Its medicinal effect could paralyze a person's nerves, as if they were poisoned by a snake. It was a first-grade medicinal herb. In the Xian Star continent, regardless of whether it was pills or medicinal herbs, they were all divided into grades from 1 to 9. Among them, Grade 1 was the worst, and Grade 9 was the rarest. As for the snake truss grass in Fei Ren's hand, he had spent a tremendous amount of effort to obtain it. Although the snake truss grass was only a first-grade medicinal herb, its value was not low in the outside world. It could be exchanged for a few taels of silver. According to the price level of the Dacha dynasty, a few taels of silver was enough for a normal family to live for half a year. Rare medicinal herbs usually grew deep in the mountains and forests. Usually, there would be magical beasts nearby, and the higher the grade of the medicinal herb, the more so. Faerun had been chased by a low-grade mortal rank magical beast for a long time just to obtain a snake trust grass. Fortunately, he had escaped quickly, otherwise he would have become its food. Luckily, I escaped quickly, but if that stupid bear caught up with me, it would have swallowed me whole. Recalling the experience of being chased by the magical beast, Faerun could not help but feel a lingering fear as sweat dripped from his forehead. In the Shienstar continent, magical beasts were divided into 9 ranks: mortal, yellow, mystic, spirit, earth, heaven, saint, emperor, and god. Each rank was further divided into low grade, mid grade, high grade, and top grade. A low-grade mortal rank magical beast strength was equivalent to a human martial artist in the body refinement realm. The weakest one was at least at the second level of the body refinement realm. Faerun had just opened up his Dantian and was only at the first level of the body refinement realm. Naturally, he was not its opponent. Refining Immortal Cauldron, it's all up to you. Throwing the first-grade snake trust grass in his hand into the refining Immortal Cauldron, Faerun calmed down, and a trace of anticipation flashed across his eyes. Buzz buzz swoosh. Just as the snake trust grass entered the refining Immortal Cauldron, the Immortal Cauldron also let out a faint buzzing sound. At the same time, rays of light flickered continuously. Wisps of green smoke floated out from both sides of the cauldron, as if Taishang Laojun was refining pills. Finally, the cauldron trembled violently and gradually calmed down. At the same time, a fragrant dark green pill appeared in front of Faerun. How can it be so perfect? Carefully taking the dark green pill, Faerun's eyes narrowed as he subconsciously exclaimed. Although he did not know how to refine pills, he could clearly sense that the dark green pill was filled with the essence of the snake trust grass through his origin energy. There was not a trace of waste, and it did not contain any poison. Although the first-grade snake trust grass could be used to refine pills, it also contained poison that could paralyze a person's nerves and make them unable to move. In the face of some poisonous herbs, any alchemist would need to extract the poison before they could start refining. Moreover, it was inevitable that the essence of the herbs would be lost. Even the famous alchemist masters of the Dacha dynasty could not avoid it. However, the refining Immortal Cauldron in Faerun's hands was very domineering. Not only did it refine the snake trust grass into a pill, but the essence of the herbs was still there without a trace of poison. It could simply beat the alchemist masters of human martial arts. The refining Immortal Cauldron is indeed powerful. Looking at the dark green pill in his palm, Faerun could not help but be overjoyed. His eyes were burning. Let's test the effects of this pill first. Raising his head and swallowing the dark green pill, Faerun's expression was calm. Gulp. As the pill entered his stomach, Faerun only felt a smooth and bitter feeling spreading in his throat. Immediately, he frowned and had a strange expression. So bitter. Resisting the urge to spit out the pill, Faerun sat cross-legged and put his palms together. At the same time, he circulated the origin energy in his body and slowly absorbed the effects of the dark green pill. This feeling is so good. The effects of the pill gradually spread to the meridians in Faerun's body. Like a stream, it flowed through his bones and meridians, bringing about a faint itch. This caused Faerun to involuntarily let out a low cry of pleasure. Body refinement stage. Second layer. Not long after, Faerun suddenly stood up. His face was filled with joy and his eyes were filled with excitement. After absorbing the effects of the dark green pill, his cultivation level had successfully broken through to the second layer of the body refinement stage. His strength had improved by another step. Shwa! Shwa! Feeling the explosive strength in his body, Faerun restrained his expression. In the next moment, his left fist swung to the side, bringing about a biting cold wind. At the same time, it smashed towards a huge tree in front of him. Rumble. Accompanied by an earth-shattering sound, the huge tree fell. At the same time, a frightening hole the size of an adult's fist was left in the middle of the tree trunk. The surrounding debris danced in the air. Such tyrannical strength, it is not the slightest bit weaker than the third layer of the body refinement stage. Could it be that after the refining immortal cauldron entered my body, it also increased my innate talent and foundation? Withdrawing his fist, Fei Rin's face was aghast. Although he had successfully broken through to the second layer of the body refinement stage, he was still shocked that he could destroy the huge tree in front of him with a single punch. Moreover, it was a casual punch. After all, for a normal second layer of the body refinement stage, to be able to punch a hole in the huge tree in front of him was already not bad. With Fei Rin's current strength, there was no doubt that he was already at the third layer of the body refinement stage, and his yuan power was even more condensed. Because the refining immortal cauldron was an immortal treasure, after swallowing the pill refined from the refining immortal cauldron, Fei Rin did not feel any discomfort with his yuan power. Instead, his entire body was filled with energy, and his yuan power cultivation was stable. It should be the credit of the refining immortal cauldron. Thinking back to the first time he picked up the refining immortal cauldron, Fei Rin's face sank into deep thought. Not only did the immortal cauldron save his life, it also helped him to cleanse his muscles and marrow, completely curing the hidden injuries that had remained in his body all these years. Tomorrow, during the Iron Palm Sect's annual disciple recruitment, I will definitely kill my way out. Putting away the refining immortal cauldron, Fei Rin's expression was determined. He was only 15 years old this year, and his cultivation had already stepped into the second layer of the body refinement stage. Compared to some of the younger generation in Wu and town who started cultivating from a young age, he was not inferior. In fact, he was even stronger. Ever since he obtained the refining immortal cauldron, this immortal treasure, Fei Rin's martial arts ambitions had become even higher. His goal was far from just the Dacha dynasty, but to dominate the entire Xian Star continent. The next day, at the Iron Palm Sect's encampment early in the morning, a large crowd had gathered here. Most of them were 15 to 16 years old youths, but there were also some middle-aged and elderly people who seemed to have accompanied them. For a moment, the crowd was bustling with noise and discussion. In another 15 minutes, the Iron Palm Sect's annual disciple recruitment will begin. It really makes one look forward to it. I heard that this year, an elder from the Iron Palm Sect will personally take in a disciple. I wonder if it's true. To be able to become an elder from the third-rate Iron Palm Sect, his cultivation must at least be at the 8th level of the body refinement stage. If my family child can become his disciple, his strength will definitely increase greatly, and his martial arts will be successful. So lively, looks like there are quite a few people who want to join the Iron Palm Sect. Hurrying to the Iron Palm Sect's encampment, Fei Rin could not help but frown as he looked at the dense crowd in front of him. At this time, the Iron Palm Sect's disciple recruitment had not yet begun. There were only 2 young Iron Palm Sect disciples guarding the entrance. Their cultivation was at the 4th level of the body refinement stage, and they seemed to be outer sect disciples. Their strength was not weak, and the crowd in front of him had been waiting for a long time. The atmosphere was fiery. Although the Iron Palm Sect was only a third-rate force, the recruitment standards were not low. Those with low talent would be eliminated, and those who were unable to open up their dantian would be eliminated. It could be said to be rough and harsh. Moreover, after becoming a disciple of the Iron Palm Sect, he would only be an errand boy at the beginning. Only when his cultivation had stepped into the 3rd level of the body refinement stage would he be able to officially become an outer sect disciple. If he wanted to be promoted to an inner sect disciple, he would need to at least step into the 5th level of the body refinement stage. As for the position of elder, it would be an expert at the 8th level of the body refinement stage or above. The competition was fierce. Chapter 5. Sorry for the long wait. This year's Iron Palm Sect disciple recruitment is about to begin. Not long after, a green-clothed man slowly stepped out from the mountain gate and arrived in front of the crowd. "Greetings, Elder Wu." Seeing the green-clothed man appear, The Iron Palm sect disciples on both sides cupped their fists together with a respectful expression. It's an elder from the Iron Palm sect. This year, there really is an elder-level figure coming out to recruit. Father really didn't deceive me. At such a young age, he is already an elder of a sect and an expert above the 8th level of the body refinement realm. If I can become his disciple, my martial path will rise to another level. At this time, the surrounding crowd gradually became restless as they discussed spiritedly. Most of the people's gazes simultaneously looked towards the green-clothed man in the middle of the mountain gate. He is Elder Wu from the Iron Palm sect. His strength is indeed valiant. I'm afraid he's not only at the 8th level of the body refinement realm. Fei Ren's gaze turned cold. Among the crowd, his expression turned serious. Although he was not far away, he was unable to determine the strength of the green-clothed man. He could only vaguely sense that the other party's aura was vigorous and not an ordinary person. After all, the other party was an expert above the 8th level of the body refinement realm, while he was merely at the 2nd level of the body refinement realm. The difference in strength was too great. The green-clothed man was called Wu Tai. He was not more than 30 years old and was one of the many elders of the Iron Palm sect. Although the Iron Palm sect was only a third-rate faction, there were many experts under their command. Including the guests and elders, there were at least a dozen experts above the 8th level of the body refinement realm. Adding on the 2nd level of the Middle Union realm, Guahuai, in the entire Wen town, there were very few factions and families that could contend against the Iron Palm sect. Let's officially begin. Raising his eyes and looking around, he realized that most of the people who had come to participate in the recruitment had arrived. The green-clothed man, called Wu Tai, also nodded his head, after which he waved his hand and a Taizhong gate disciple beside him gladly accepted the order and stepped forward. Those under the age of 16 stepped forward. Following the shout of this Taizhong gate disciple, the young people in the crowd also swarmed out. Soon after, they swarmed in front of this Taizhong gate disciple. Everyone had different expressions. The scene was a little chaotic and the atmosphere was fiery hot. Line up. Frowning slightly, Wu Tai stood with his hands behind his back. There seemed to be some displeasure on his face. This year's disciple recruitment was different from the past. The Iron Palm School's head, Guohuai, attached great importance to it. It seemed that he intended to recruit talented young juniors. That was why he had specially sent an elder-level character to supervise the recruitment of new disciples. However, as an elder, Wu Tai disapproved of this. I don't know what Lord Gatemaster is up to. These little kids who came from all over the place haven't even opened up their dantian. They're all like idiots. What kind of cultivation talent can they have? After I'm done with my business, I'm going to town to drink some wine and have some fun. Wu Tai thought to himself with an indifferent expression as he swept his gaze across the young juniors who had already lined up in a row not far away. Those with elemental energy in your dantian, stand on the left. Those without elemental energy, stand on the right. Prepare to be tested by the talent bronze pillar. Looking at the group of elders in front of him, the young Iron Palm School disciple nodded his head. He then took out a jade slip and began to record the name list. The other Iron Palm School disciple raised his hand and wiped the silver ring on his ring finger. The next moment, with a flash of light, a simple bronze pillar suddenly appeared in front of everyone. This is a spirit ring. Fei Ren's eyes narrowed as he stared at the silver ring on the hand of the Iron Palm School disciple not far away. In his early years, before he had become a martial artist, he had heard from some martial artists that there were many rare minerals in the Xianxing continent. Some of these special minerals could even be forged into a ring with its own storage space. This kind of ring was also known as a spirit ring. Spirit rings were rare and were generally divided into 4 types: low, medium, high, and top. The higher the level of the spirit ring, the larger the storage space and the more expensive it was. However, the spirit ring on the hand of the Iron Palm School disciple was obviously not of a high level. It was only the lowest level spirit ring. Although it was only the lowest level spirit ring, its value on the black market was not low. It was comparable to 100 taels of gold. Moreover, It was priceless. If I can get a low-level spirit ring, then I'll be rich. However, the value of this spirit ring is not low. Thinking about it, the spirit ring on this kid's hand should not be his. It should be that Elder Wu Tai's. Thinking up to here, Fei Rin could not help but touch his chin. His face sank. Although his cultivation had progressed very quickly in the past few days and had reached the second level of the body refinement realm, he had yet to grasp any martial arts or skills. His overall strength was on the low side. This was also the reason why Fei Rin had racked his brains to enter the Iron Palm sect. After all, only by entering these sects and powers would he be able to cultivate their martial arts and skills. Not long after, the youths participating in the Iron Palm School disciple recruitment were divided into two groups. One group had a lot of people, accounting for about 80% of the participants. The other group was sparse, with only a few tens of people. Those who have not opened up their dantian, please come up and take the test. Everyone take a step forward and place your palms on the innate bronze pillar. If you're able to trigger 3 light columns, you pass. Those with less than 3 light columns will be eliminated. When he spoke again, the disciple from Taizhong clan cast a glance at the 2 lines of people. His expression was indifferent, and the bronze pillar in front of him stood upright quietly. Upon closer inspection, the entire bronze pillar was divided into 6 sections, and those who could reach 3 sections in the talent test were considered average. Is this thing the innate bronze pillar? I heard that it can test a cultivator's talent and potential. I wonder if it really has such a miraculous effect. Because his cultivation had reached the second level of the body refinement realm, Fei Rin naturally stood in the group with fewer people. At this moment, his hands were crossed in front of his chest as he curiously looked at the simple bronze pillar in front of him. That kid is so young, but he actually opened up his dantian. The world is so big, you can't judge a book by its cover. It should be true. After all, the Iron Palm School's Elder Wu Tai is overseeing this place. If this kid wants to be in the limelight and cheat, he will definitely have one of his arms and legs crippled and then be expelled from the Iron Palm School. A few years ago, there was a young man from a village in the mountains who tried to cheat his way through by falsely reporting his cultivation level. He wanted to enter the Iron Palm School to cultivate, but in the end his left arm was crippled by an Iron Palm School disciple, and he was expelled in front of everyone. His ending could be said to be miserable. Maybe it was because Fei Rin's clothes were simple and low-key, and his appearance was too ordinary. Seeing that he was also standing in the group with fewer people, some of the surrounding crowd also cast doubtful gazes at Fei Rin. Everyone's expressions were different. There were about a few hundred people participating in the Iron Palm School's disciple recruitment. Every year, the number of new disciples that the Iron Palm School accepts was about 20, and at most 30. With a ratio of 1 to 6 to 7, the competition was still very fierce. Although the competition was fierce, if one opened up dantian with origin energy, then it would be a different story. If one was able to open up dantian with origin energy before the age of 16, then there would be no accidents, and they would basically be able to pass the Iron Palm School's recruitment test. After all, no matter how trashy one's cultivation talent was, one would at least be able to become a martial artist at the 5th level of the body refinement realm, neither strong nor weak. Many of the Iron Palm School's outer court disciples were like this. Ox Village, Lu Nung, 16 years old. Talent test 1 grid, eliminated. Wuhan Town, Air Guzi, 14 years old. Talent test 2 grids, eliminated. Wuhan Town, Zhou Chong, 15 years old. Talent test 3 grids, passed. Not long after, the line of people decreased by more than half. Among them, only a few people were able to reach 3 grids in the talent test. Chapter 6. Damn it, just a little bit more, and I would have been able to pass the preliminary test and enter the Iron Palm Gate. In front of the talent bronze pillar, a gray-clothed youth was in a trance. In the next moment, he slowly knelt on the ground. His left palm was tightly clenched into a fist. At the same time, he fiercely hammered the ground, creating a circle of dust. The preliminary test of the Iron Palm Gate was very simple. As long as you could light up 3 columns of the talent bronze pillar, you would pass. However, the gray-clothed youth in front of him was one step behind. He could only light up 2 columns of the talent bronze pillar. Naturally, he was eliminated. Next, ignoring the gray-clothed youth's annoyance and unwillingness, the Iron Palm Gate disciple in charge of the test coldly said, "Get out of the way, it's my turn." A burly black-faced youth pushed the gray-clothed youth on the ground side. His face was full of excitement, as if he was very confident in the talent bronze pillar test. "You!" Clenching his teeth, the already eliminated gray-clothed youth's face was filled with unwillingness. He then angrily turned around and left. Lu-Hu, will definitely pass the preliminary test and become a disciple of the Iron Palm Gate. The black-faced youth's expression was firm. In the next moment, he raised his right hand and touched the talent bronze pillar in front of him. Buzz! Accompanied by a weak vibration, the originally calm talent bronze pillar suddenly burst out with a burst of light. In the next moment, the light slowly rose and quickly broke through the 3rd column. Finally, it slowly stopped at the 4th column and became motionless. 4th column. The expressions of the onlookers were all sluggish. Their eyes were filled with shock. I didn't expect this black-faced kid to be so powerful. Looks like you can't judge a book by its cover. That's true. However, this is only the preliminary test of the Iron Palm Gate. Although this kid passed the talent bronze pillar test, he still hasn't opened up his dantian. I estimate that he will only be a servant disciple of the Iron Palm Gate. It's still too early for him to become an outer disciple. A few scholarly-looking youths wearing tall hats were discussing. They seemed to have some understanding of the 3rd-rate Iron Palm Gate. I passed. Withdrawing his right hand, the dark-faced young man named Lu who looked up to the sky and laughed. His face was brimming with joy. He was a young farmer who had come from the mountains. Although he had practiced some martial arts, he had yet to open up his dantian. His strength was much weaker than a real martial artist's. Although the Iron Palm School was only a 3rd-rate force, they possessed cultivation methods and martial arts. If one was able to enter the school, becoming a martial artist was a sure thing. Moreover, one's strength would also increase greatly. This was also why the Iron Palm School's annual disciple recruitment would cause the young juniors of Wuhan Town and its surrounding areas to flock to this place. This black-faced kid is not bad, not far away. Farron crossed his arms in front of his chest, a faint light flashing through his eyes. He had already opened up his dantian and was at the 2nd level of the body refinement stage, so there was no need for him to participate in the innate talent bronze pillar test. However, this did not mean that his innate talent and potential far exceeded Lu-Hu's. However, the immortal refining divine cauldron has fused into my body. After that marrow cleansing, my talent should be enough to crush these people here. Thinking about it, Fei Rin rubbed his chin. The immortal refining divine cauldron was the world's supreme immortal treasure. It could slay gods and kill immortals, move mountains and move seas. Fei Rin, who possessed such a supreme immortal treasure, was very clear in his heart that if the secret in his body was exposed, it would be enough to cause a storm in the Xian Star continent, and even cause a bloody storm. Not long after, the young juniors participating in the innate talent bronze pillar test had been reduced by more than half. Among them, there were not many who were able to activate 3 lights, only about a dozen people. And young juniors like Fei Rin, who had opened up their dantian, were even rarer. There were only a few people. These people's strength is weak. There is nothing to be afraid of. Looks like my opponents are these few people. Shifting his gaze, Fei Rin looked at the few young men and women not far away from him with a calm expression. These few young men and women had all opened up their dantian's origin energy like him, so they didn't need to participate in the innate talent bronze pillars test. Basically, they were able to enter the Iron Palm School. As for whether their final status would be a service disciple or an outer court disciple, it would still depend on the decision of the Iron Palm School's elder, Wu Tai. Brother Fei, could it be that you want to fight with me? Facing Fei Rin's gaze, a blue-robed youth in the crowd grinned. His face was full of battle intent. The blue-robed youth had a long sword hanging on his body, and his aura was overbearing. He seemed to be a martial arts fanatic who was addicted to battle. Brother Zhao is too polite. I'm not strong enough, so I don't dare to fight lightly. Smiling helplessly, Fei-Ren cupped his hands and then retracted his gaze. The blue-robed youth's name was Zhao Run, and he was a disciple of the Wuhan town's Zhao family. He had also practiced martial arts since he was young and had opened up his dantian early on. He was now at the second level of the body refinement realm, the same level as Fei-Ren. However, Fei-Ren did not practice martial arts, and without using the Immortal refining cauldron, if he fought with Zhao Run, it would be hard to say who would win. Ha ha! You're really humble. You and I are both at the second level of the body refinement realm. If we don't fight, how would we know who will win? Laughing loudly, Zhao Run leaped to Fei-Ren's side, and at the same time whispered in his ear, "Brother Fei, even if these people enter the Iron Palm Gate, their future is limited. The only chance they have is to become outer disciples, and even inner disciples are only a few of us. Don't tell me you don't know." "Oh, how do you know?" Fei-Ren looked at Zhao Run with interest. Unlike the others, although Zhao Run was a martial arts fanatic, his personality was straightforward. He was happy to deal with this kind of person and did not need to spend too much effort. After all, a person's heart was hard to fathom. "Chun Tingting, you, me, and that Tianshui town's Feng Hui. Only the four of us have a chance to become outer disciples. That's right, that Lu who ignited the 4 columns of the Talent Bronze Pillar light. If he has some luck, he can barely be counted as one. As for the others, even if they pass the test, they can only reach the 5th or 6th level of the body refinement realm at most." Chuckling, Zhao Ren said unhurriedly, "Maybe I didn't think too much about it. If I can enter the Iron Palm clan, it would naturally be good for me to cultivate peacefully." Fei-Ren coughed dryly and said indifferently, "The Chun Tingting that Zhao Ren spoke was also a young genius from Wuhan town. Although she was young, her cultivation base was the strongest among the 4 of them. She had already reached the 3rd level of the body refinement realm and was no different from some of the Iron Palm clan's outer disciples. Moreover, she had a beautiful appearance and was considered a rare genius. As for Feng Hui, he was a genius of the younger generation from Tianshui town, and his cultivation base had also reached the 2nd level of the body refinement realm. Tianshui town was only 100 miles away from Wuhan town, and both belonged to the Azure Sun County. Among the people present, only the 4 of them could directly advance without participating in the Talent Bronze Pillar test. Brother Fei, speaking of this little girl, Chun Tingting, not only is she beautiful, her strength is also not weak. If we can marry her, TSK. Seemingly excited, Zhao Ren grinned again, and from the corner of his eyes, he glanced at a valiant and formidable-looking girl not far away. Letcher, coldly snorting, as if she had sensed Zhao Ren's vulgar gaze, the plain-clothed girl named Chun Tingting had a look of disdain on her face as she turned her head to look in the other direction. Very quickly, the disciple recruitment came to an end, including Fei-Ren and the other 3. There were about 20 people who had passed the Iron Palm clan's preliminary test. Compared to the hundreds of people who had participated in the previous test, it could be considered as 1 in 10. There are a few good seedlings this year. Inwardly nodding his head, Wu Tai stood with his hands behind his back. His gaze swept across Fei-Ren and the rest, and finally stopped in front of Chun Tingting. His eyes slightly narrowed. This girl's talent is excellent. Her appearance is beautiful, and she comes from a respectable family. If Yun is able to marry her, his path of martial arts will definitely reach a new level. As an elder of the Iron Palm clan, Wu Tai's strength was valiant, and he also had many disciples under him. Among them, the eldest disciple that he doted on the most was Wang Lingyun. Different from the rest of the outer sect disciples, Wang Lingyun was an inner sect disciple of the Iron Palm clan. His strength and talent were not weak, and at such a young age, his cultivation had already reached the 6th level of the body refinement stage. I heard that Wang Lingyun had also entered the Iron Palm clan, and is also this person's eldest disciple. Looks like it's true. If I don't take revenge for this, I, Feng Hui, am not human. Not far from the crowd, a young man in a white robe stood quietly. His expression was solemn, and he carried an incomparably sharp, snow-white broadsword on his back. At this moment, his eyes were flickering with an obscure, killing intent. It was Feng Hui from Tianshui Town. Chapter 7. This kid's eyes actually revealed killing intent. Although the ruthlessness flashed in Feng Hui's eyes, Fei Ren still detected it, and his expression turned slightly cold. Could it be that he wants to make a move on Wu Tai? Just as this thought appeared in his mind, it was immediately rejected by Fei Ren. After all, Wu Tai was an elder of the third-rate Iron Palm School, an expert above the 8th level of the body refinement realm. He could crush everyone present with just a finger as effortlessly as blowing off dust. Was it an illusion? Withdrawing his gaze, he discovered that Feng Hui's face was still calm, as if there was nothing strange. Fei Ren's expression was also deep in thought. There were many people present, and it seemed that Wu Tai did not detect the killing intent that flashed in Feng Hui's eyes. After all, Feng Hui was only a martial artist at the 2nd level of the body refinement realm. He simply could not enter Wu Tai's eyes and could kill him with a raise of his hand. This year's Iron Palm School disciple recruitment has ended. Those who remain have all passed the test. From today onwards, you will be my Iron Palm School's disciples. Follow me. Looking around, Wu Tai lightly nodded his head, then turned around and walked towards the inner part of the school. The 2 Iron Palm School's outer court disciples beside him received their orders, took back their innate copper pillars, and followed closely behind. I've finally entered the Iron Palm School. I, Lu Hu, must stand out, become a renowned martial artist. Seeing Wu Tai and the others enter the school, Lu Hu's face was filled with excitement. He clenched his fists and followed closely behind. Brother Fei, let's go. Extending his hand and patting Fei Ren's shoulder, Zhao Run grinned. Soon after, his figure disappeared into the stream of people. Feng Hui and Chun Tingting also did not delay, as they similarly followed Wu Tai's footsteps and stepped into the Iron Palm clan's encampment. Iron Palm School, Shoshui Peak. This was the central area of the Iron Palm School. The inner part connected to the main hall of the school, and the outer part connected to the Hengduan mountain range. Many Iron Palm School's disciples lived here, most of them being odd job disciples. As for the Iron Palm School's core elites, the group of inner and outer court disciples lived on Blue Sky Peak. Because the sect's encampment was located in the endless Hengduan mountain range, the Iron Palm sect's terrain was strategic, and there were a total of 3 main peaks. Other than the Shoshui Peak and the Blue Sky Peak, the most mysterious peak was the Teeling Peak. The Teeling Peak was the residence of many of the sect's elders and sect master Guahuai. Rumor has it that the Iron Palm clan has many disciples, and 70 to 80% of them are servants. Looks like it's true. After arriving at Shoshui Peak, Fei Run raised his eyes and looked around. He saw that the mountains and plains were covered in emerald green, with clear spring water flowing down from the top. It was already a picturesque scene. Not far away, there were more than a dozen odd jobs disciples of the Iron Palm School, dressed in cotton clothes, working hard. They seemed to be working hard, and their faces were solemn. Even if your Dantian has opened up with origin energy, if you haven't stepped into the 3rd level of the body refinement realm and become an outer core disciple, it will be difficult for you to make a name for yourself. Compared to outer court disciples, odd jobs disciples not only have to do heavy chores, their treatment is also extremely poor. Stepping to Fei Ren's side, Zhao Ren said with a solemn face. Although he was born in a large family in Wuhan town and had been practicing martial arts since young, Zhao Ren was very clear in his heart that there was always someone better than him. Not to mention that there were many experts in the Iron Palm clan. Even the newcomer Chun Tingting was not weak. At such a young age, she had already reached the 3rd level of the body refinement realm, comparable to an outer court disciple. Brother Zhao seems to be very familiar with the Iron Palm clan. Hearing this, Fei Ren smiled and did not comment too much. Within his body, There was the refining Immortal Cauldron, an immortal treasure. Not to mention a mere third-rate force like the Iron Palm clan. Even if it was the Azure Sun County or even the Dacha dynasty, it was not his pursuit of martial arts. How could a swallow and a sparrow know the ambitions of a swan? Plucking the stars from the sky and splitting the heavens from the ground? One day, he would make the entire Xian star continent tremble. I have some understanding. The Iron Palm clan is a third-rate force. There are at least 1,000 inner court disciples, if not 800, and 70 to 80% of them are service disciples. There are only 100 or 200 outer court disciples. As for inner court disciples, there are even fewer, only less than 20 people. Zhaoren waved his hand and said casually. Not long after, a group of newcomers had gathered in front of the Xiushui Peak, bustling with activity. Elder Wu Tai also stopped in his tracks and turned around to look at the crowd behind him. Although you have entered the Iron Palm clan, you are only service disciples at the beginning. If you want to become an outer court disciple, you need to cultivate diligently and break through to the third level of the body refinement realm as soon as possible. However, this elder is not a stubborn and inflexible person. Now, I can give you a chance to be promoted. Wu Tai's words had a hidden meaning, but his face was indifferent. Lord Elder, may I ask what chance it is? In the crowd, a plain-clothed youth called out. Very simple. Defeat any one of them, and you can become an outer court disciple. With a cold smile, Wu Tai waved his hand, and 2 young men dressed in plain robes stepped out. They were the 2 Iron Palm clan disciples who were guarding the mountain gate. What? It can't be. These 2 are outer court disciples, and their cultivation has already reached the 4th level of the body refinement realm. How can we possibly win? Aren't we just asking for trouble? Other than Chun Tingting, no one else has a chance of winning. Just as these words were spoken, the crowd of newcomers began to discuss spiritedly, their faces filled with shock. That is the 4th level of the body refinement realm. Defeat them? What kind of joke is this? Eyebrows slightly wrinkled, Zhaoren crossed his arms in front of his chest, his expression serious. Although he was a martial arts fanatic, he knew his own limits. The 2 plain-clothed young men in front of him were outer court disciples of the Iron Palm clan. Their cultivation was at the 4th level of the body refinement realm. Not to mention what martial arts they had mastered, they could easily suppress the crowd of newcomers with just their yuan power. This guy is obviously trying to disgust us. Narrowing his eyes, Fei Rin's face was solemn. Among the crowd of newcomers, most of them had not opened up their yuan power and had not even reached the 1st level of the body refinement realm. The only ones who had some strength were Chun Tingting, Feng Hui, Zhao Run, and himself. Brother Fei, do you want to do it or not? How confident are you in facing them? Seemingly unwilling to give up, Zhao Run clenched his fists, his face filled with eagerness. Although he could not defeat the other party, being able to exchange blows with a martial artist at the 4th level of the body refinement realm was still beneficial to him. Maybe Chun Tingting can defeat one of them. I haven't learned any martial arts, so it's a bit difficult. Shaking his head, Fei Rin's face did not reveal much fighting spirit. He was not like Zhao Ren, who was born in a big family and had cultivated and mastered martial arts since young. Fei Rin's current cultivation base was obtained by refining the Immortal Cauldron, and he had little experience in actual combat. Without mastering any martial arts, his chances of winning were close to 0. Damn it, I don't care. I don't believe in bad luck. I'll give it a try. Seeing that Fei Run was unwilling to make a move, Zhao Ren did not force him. He immediately pulled out the long sword at his waist and jumped in front of Wu Tai. Elder, I want a challenge. Cupping his fists, Zhao Ren's face was resolute. Qianlin, go play. Nodding his head, Wu Tai's figure retreated 10 steps. In the next moment, he saw a young man in plain robe step forward and slightly nod his head. I am Qianlin. Please enlighten me, Zhao Run. Cupping his fists as well, Zhao Ren swung the long sword in his hand. At the same time, he gathered all the origin power in his body and assumed a posture as if he was about to make a move. Unlike Fei Run, he dared to challenge an outer disciple of the Iron Palm realm who was at the 4th level of the body refinement realm because he had mastered a quasi-second level martial arts passed down in his family. Even if his cultivation base was not the opponent's, with the support of the martial arts, he could still put up a fight. Is it about to start? Just in time to see the power of the martial arts. Not far away, Feiren also lightly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and retreated to the side, as if he planned to quietly observe the battle. Qianlin's cultivation base was at the 4th level of the body refinement realm, while Zhao Ren's cultivation base was only at the 2nd level of the body refinement realm. Although the difference in cultivation base between the two was not small, a martial artist's strength, other than cultivation base, was also related to martial arts, skills, and even spirit treasures. If one mastered a powerful martial art, challenging someone of a higher level would not be difficult. Similar to skills and spirit treasures, martial arts were also the lifeblood of martial artists. There were a total of 9 grades, of which the 9th grade was the most respected and its power was incomparably strong. In the vast and boundless Xian Star continent, there were many unknown small characters who eventually cultivated a powerful martial art and became the overlord of a region. Chapter 8. Your cultivation is too weak. You're not my match. Looking at Zhao Run, the white-robed young man named Qianlin said coldly. After all, he was at the 4th level of the body refinement realm and was also an outer court disciple of the Iron Palm clan. His martial arts attainments were not weak, so it was naturally easy for him to deal with a newcomer. After all, there were only a few geniuses who could challenge someone with a higher cultivation level than them in the entire Wuan town. You'll know after you try. Chain's sword. Clenching his teeth, Zhao Run lightly shook the long sword in his left hand. In the next moment, he brandished his sword and slashed forward. The tip of the sword was pointed at Qianlin's shoulder, bringing along a gust of wind and sword shadows. Since his opponent was at the 4th level of the body refinement realm, his strength was not weak. Zhao Run naturally did not dare to be careless and used his full strength right from the start. This chainsword was his family's martial arts that was at the quasi-2nd grade. Combined with his cultivation at the 2nd level of the body refinement realm, it was enough to contend against an opponent at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. Child's play. Facing Zhao Ren's sword shadow attack, the corners of Qianlin's mouth curled up. At the same time, his feet slid to the side, easily dodging the biting cold sword. At the same time, rolling origin energy gathered in his left palm and attacked towards his opponent's abdomen. Iron Palm. With a shout, Qianlin's eyes widened and similarly used an extraordinary martial arts. Origin energy swept out from his palm and instantly broke through the layers of sword shadows. Not good. Seeing that his attack was broken, Zhao Ren's face changed. Just as he was about to use his sword to defend, the palm aura instantly attacked. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the biting cold palm aura instantly sent the long sword in Zhao Ren's hand flying. At the same time, it fiercely pressed below his abdomen, instantly exploding with a thunderous sound. Zhao Ren's face abruptly turned pale, and he spat out blood as he frantically retreated. You let me win. Withdrawing his palm, Qianlin coldly glanced at the pale Zhao Ren not far away and said in a flat tone, I lost. Reaching out his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, Zhao Ren's face turned pale for a moment. He unwillingly struggled to get up, then resentfully returned to the crowd and no longer made a sound, as if being instantly defeated by someone's attack. One move to decide the outcome. The speed at which this battle ended caused everyone present to be extremely shocked. Although Qianlin's strength wasn't weak, Zhao Ren possessed a quasi-grade 2 martial technique and had a cultivation at the 2nd level of the body refinement stage. Yet he was still unable to withstand a single move from Qianlin. This was sufficient to show the gap between an outer court disciple and a labor disciple. The power of Qianlin's palm strike is extraordinary, far surpassing ordinary moves. It's also a quasi-level 2 martial art. Without the advantage in martial arts, that lecher surnamed Zhao is naturally no match for him. Not far away, Chun Tingting's red lips parted slightly when she saw Qianlin easily insta-kill Zhao Run with a single palm strike, and her beautiful face was solemn. It's not just the difference in cultivation level, but also the difference in combat experience. If they were of the same cultivation level, perhaps Zhao Run would be able to hold on for a few more rounds. Moreover, the Iron Pom-Pom is the specialty of the Iron Palm sect's leader, Guo Huai. Most of the sect's disciples have dabbled in it. It seems like the rumors are true. Chuckling, the taciturn Fong Hui coldly said. His words couldn't help but contain a hint of sarcasm. Quasi-level 2 martial art, Iron Palm. Interesting. Rubbing his chin, Fei Ren's expression was one of contemplation. Originally, he had entered the Iron Palm sect to cultivate martial arts and techniques. Increasing his cultivation level was secondary. After all, he had the refining Immortal Cauldron in his possession. Increasing his cultivation level was only a matter of time, and there were no bottlenecks. Is there anyone else who wants to try? After Zhao Run was defeated, Elder Wu Tai grinned and opened his mouth to speak. However, no one else made a sound. It was obvious that they had already given up on the opportunity to challenge. After all, Zhao Run, who was at the second level of the body refinement stage, was insta-killed in a single move. The others didn't even have a chance. Merely at the fourth level of the body refinement stage. As long as this lady is given a little more time, even if he is an inner sect disciple. So what? A glimmer of light flashed across Chun Tingting's beautiful black eyes. Under her skirt, her small hands quietly clenched. Looking at Qianlin and the other outer sect disciples, a trace of stubbornness and arrogance flashed across her delicate face. Her cultivation level was at the third level of the body refinement stage and was not weaker than the average outer sect disciple. According to the rules of the Iron Palm sect, only those whose cultivation level had reached the third level of the body refinement stage and above could become an outer sect disciple. Thus, among the many new disciples present, only she could be promoted to an outer sect disciple. As for the others, they could only temporarily be odd job disciples. Not long after, other than Chun Tingting, Fei Ren and the other new disciples were assigned to the Xiushui Peak's odd job disciple district. Before becoming an outer sect disciple, the Iron Palm sect's odd job disciples all lived here. Moreover, they had to do many odd jobs on a daily basis. From time to time, they had to go down the mountain to complete some missions. Kid, this is your identity token. It represents your status within the sect. If you have any questions, you can go to the main hall to inquire. If you want to go down the mountain to complete a mission, you can also go to the main hall. Iron Palm sect disciples receive a certain amount of salary every month. You are an odd job disciple. Every month, your salary is only 10 contribution points. If you need anything, you can use your contribution points to exchange for it at the main hall. An outer sect disciple slowly walked towards Fei Run. Soon after, he tossed over a simple and unadorned greenwood token. On the greenwood token, a large Fei character was engraved on it. By pouring origin power into it, one could check the contribution points within. Many thanks, Senior. Receiving the token, Fei Ren's face revealed a slight smile. At the same time, he cupped his hands in greeting. The outer sect disciple in front of him was the same as Qianlin from before. They were both at the fourth level of the body refinement stage. However, Qianlin was usually responsible for guarding the mountain gate and rarely went out to complete missions. Compared to the other outer sect disciples, his actual combat experience was slightly less. Sure enough, it's only 10 contribution points. How stingy! Gripping the greenwood token tightly in his hand, Fei Ren circulated his origin power and poured it into it. He discovered that there were exactly 10 contribution points within, enough to exchange for a low-grade origin stone. Origin stones contained rich and pure origin power. Generally, they were divided into low grade, middle grade, high grade, and top grade. They were the common currency of the cultivation world. Martial artists could absorb the pure origin power within the origin stones to increase their own cultivation base. However, low-grade origin stones had a low value. The origin power contained within was limited. In the Dacha dynasty's black market, it could be sold for about 100 taels of silver. As for contribution points, they were equally important. In the Iron Palm sect, the exchange for anything was related to contribution points. This included cultivation resources. No matter if it was cultivation methods, martial arts, pills, spirit treasures, or even origin stones, they all required contribution points to exchange for. In order to obtain contribution points, one could only complete the sect's missions. At night, in the Xiushui Peak Odd Job Disciple District, in a room somewhere, tomorrow is the day to teach the cultivation method. I'd better master the cultivation method first, then find a way to complete some missions and get the Iron Palm martial arts. After finishing his meditation, Fei Ren stretched his body. His eyes were burning with passion. He had yet to cultivate a cultivation method, so he could only use simple breathing to increase his cultivation base. Only after cultivating a cultivation method would there be a clear difference in his origin power cultivation base. For a martial artist, a good cultivation method was not inferior to a martial arts. In the Xianxing continent, cultivation methods and martial arts were divided into 9 grades. Among them, grade 9 was the highest, and grade 1 was the lowest. In the third-rate Iron Palm sect, every disciple who entered the sect, regardless of their status, could cultivate a grade 1 cultivation method for free. It was a pretty good benefit. Thinking about how Zhao Run was killed in a single move during the day, Fei Ren felt very uneasy. To put it bluntly, his current strength was almost the same as Zhao Ren's, or even worse. After all, he had yet to master any martial arts. However, even a promising junior like Zhao Run was defeated by an outer disciple, Qian Lin, in a single move. Apart from the difference in cultivation base, the Iron Palm martial arts, which was a grade 2 martial arts, was not to be underestimated. The Iron Palm martial arts was the famous martial arts of the Iron Palm sect's leader, Guohuai. Although this martial arts was open to everyone in the sect, it was not easy to exchange for it. It required 100 contribution points. Based on the salary of an odd job disciple, even if there were no monthly expenses, it would still take almost a year to get it. Once I master the cultivation method, I'll take the mission and go down the mountain. Spitting out a mouthful of turbid qi, Fei Ren's face was resolute. Fei Ren was obviously not willing to wait for a year in vain. Since he possessed the refining Immortal Cauldron, his cultivation level would naturally soar. If he were to waste his time in the Iron Palm Gate just for a rank 2 martial technique, it would simply be a waste. Chapter 9. Dawn of the next day. Xiushui Peak. A man in a gray robe stood quietly in front of the main hall. Around him, a group of young men and women gathered. Everyone was concentrating, and there was a moment of silence. Today, I will impart to you a cultivation method. Looking around, the man in the gray robe nodded in satisfaction. First rank cultivation method, qi condensation method. The man in the gray robe said firmly. Then he clasped his hands together, and wisps of weak yuan power gathered around his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. Finally, it slowly gathered into his dantian in his abdomen. At the same time, it emitted a mysterious aura, and the aura of the man in the gray robe solidified. This is the strength of a cultivation method. At the edge of the crowd, Fei Ren sat down with his eyes narrowed. The man in the gray robe was an inner disciple of the Iron Palm Gate. His name was Tian Su. Although his yuan power cultivation was not as strong as Elder Wu Tai, it was not weak either. He had already reached the 6th level of the body refinement realm, and his strength was enough to crush everyone present. Even if all of them worked together, they would still not be his match. This is the first rank cultivation method, qi condensation method. Have you all seen it clearly? Tian Su slowly dispersed the yuan power around him, stood up, and said lightly, "Senior brother Tian is so domineering. Amazing. If I can master this cultivation method, my cultivation speed will increase by at least 50%. In less than half a month, I will be able to step into the first level of the body refinement realm. This is only a first-rank cultivation method. I wonder what kind of power a stronger cultivation method would have. According to Tian Su's teachings, the newcomers all followed suit and started to cultivate Qi condensation method. Not long after, the entire Xiushui Peak's main hall was shrouded in a thick mist of Yuan Qi. Although it was very weak, it had its own merits. Although this cultivation method is only a first-rank cultivation method, it is widely spread in the Xianxing continent and is not considered rare. However, you have just stepped onto the martial path. If you can master this cultivation method, you will still be able to unleash a considerable power. Tian Su gently nodded his head as he looked at the many newcomers practicing the Qi condensation technique in full swing. A look of satisfaction appeared on his chiseled face. Feel the Yuan power of heaven and earth. Fei Ren's face was solemn. At the same time, he spread out his hands, his eyes burning. First-grade cultivation technique, Qi condensation technique. This cultivation method was one of the more common cultivation methods in the Xianxing continent. Martial artists would circulate the cultivation method to sense the flow of Yuan Qi between heaven and earth, and then absorb it into their dantian to increase their cultivation. As for the absorption speed, it was related to the martial artist's innate talent, as well as the level and proficiency of the cultivation method. Condensed Qi. With a clear shout, Fei Ren put his palms together. Swoosh, swish. Accompanied by a few gusts of piercingly cold wind, the surrounding origin energy of heaven and earth scattered like birds startled by the twang of a bow. In the next moment, they all gathered around Fei Ren, and his dantian also absorbed a large amount of origin energy of heaven and earth like a whale swallowing water. In a short while, the surrounding origin energy of heaven and earth in the open space was completely absorbed. F*CK. Is this kid a monster? It actually absorbed all the surrounding essence energy in an instant. It's that Fei Ren. When he first entered the sect, he was already at the second level of the body refinement realm. As expected, he cannot be underestimated. Fei Ren's strange cultivation method immediately attracted a lot of attention from the surroundings. For a moment, the crowd could not help but discuss. Even Tian Su, who was not far away, was startled. He looked over with a face full of surprise. This is troublesome. Seems like the commotion is a little too big. Seeing that the crowd was looking at him, Fei Ren was also stunned. He immediately stopped cultivating, and the corner of his mouth revealed a dry smile. His body had undergone the cleansing of the Immortal refining cauldron. Now, his innate talent could not be said to be the best in the world, but it was still one of the best. However, after many years, it had become a habit. Fei Ren did not like to be high profile, and he did not expect that cultivating the condensing Qi technique would cause such a big reaction. Brother Fei is actually this strong. In the corner, Zhao Run, who was lazing around, trembled slightly, and his face was full of disbelief. Fei Ren, this kid is a genius. In the future, if nothing unexpected happens, he might be able to compete with that guy Wang Lingyun. But that guy's not so easy to deal with. After looking at Fei Ren meaningfully, Tian Su slowly retracted his gaze, and a trace of playfulness flashed across his face. Wang Lingyun was an inner disciple of the Iron Palm Gate. His innate talent was strong, and he was also Elder Wu Tai's favorite disciple. Even the current gate master, Guo Huai, thought highly of him, and his reputation in the sect was like the sky. Even an inner disciple like Tian Su had to respectfully call him senior apprentice brother. Fei Ren, this lady has one more opponent. Not far away, Chan Tingting, who was wearing a blue dress, also slowly stopped cultivating and stood up. Her beautiful eyes looked at Fei Ren with a hint of battle intent. Then, she turned around and left quietly as if she did not plan to stay any longer. After cultivating the Qi condensation technique, Fei Ren did not linger in front of the Xiushui Peak's main hall. Instead, he ran toward the restaurant. The restaurant was located halfway up Xiushui Peak and was where many disciples of the Iron Palm Gate ate. Because there were many disciples of the Iron Palm Gate, The restaurant was also very large and could accommodate hundreds of people eating at the same time. However, eating in the restaurant was not free and required some money. If a disciple was rich, he could even use the contribution points in his greenwood token as a substitute. One contribution point could allow him to eat a sumptuous medicinal cuisine. Not only could this medicinal cuisine replenish chi, but it could also rejuvenate one's spirit. There were many benefits. At this time, there were not many people in the restaurant. After ordering, Fei Ren casually found a seat and sat down. Zhao Ren also followed with a sly smile. "Brother Fei, that move you showed in front of the main hall was too cool. I've never seen someone who could create such a big commotion while cultivating a rank 1 art. What a coincidence. You've never seen it before, and neither have I." Fei Ren ate a mouthful of rice and also joked. Ever since he entered the Iron Palm Gate, Zhao Ren had stuck to him like a dog's skin plaster. Fei Ren also knew what the other party was thinking. It was nothing more than wanting to rope him in, and he was happy to do so. After all, one more friend meant one less enemy. "Stinking brat, didn't you hear what I said? Do you want to die?" At this time, a few noises came from the entrance of the restaurant. 3 outer sect disciples in plain robes surrounded a gray-clothed youth. Their faces were fierce, and they looked like they would attack at any moment. For a moment, the smell of gunpowder filled the air. "I'm giving you face by asking you to borrow contribution points. If you know what's good for you, obediently hand over the greenwood token. Otherwise, don't blame me for not showing mercy." The leader was a black-haired youth. The black-haired youth's face was pale, and his eyes were sinister. He stretched out his left palm and grabbed the gray-clothed youth's neck. At the same time, he lifted the gray-clothed youth up. His words were full of threat. You're going too far." The gray-clothed youth's face was flushed red. His body struggled in the air for a moment, but he was still unable to break free from the other party's grip. It seemed that the difference in strength was too great. "It's Wang Ning. That guy's bullying the odd job disciples again." Looking carefully, Zhao Ren restrained his expression and said in a serious tone, "Wang Ning." Fei Ren was puzzled. "That guy is an outer sect disciple. His strength and talent aren't very good, but he has an incomparably powerful brother. Thus, no one dares to provoke him in the Iron Palm sect. If you meet him, you can only consider yourself unlucky. Brother Fei, his brother Wang Lingyun, is a ruthless character. He is also one of the best among the inner sect disciples." Sighing, Zhao Ren withdrew his gaze and nodded with a serious expression. "These 10 contribution points are all my salary for this month. I can't give them to you." Pong. The gray-clothed youth circulated all the energy in his body, as if he wanted to resist. However, in the next moment, he was flung away by Wang Ning's palm. Along the way, he smashed many tables and chairs, causing him to vomit blood. "Not giving? Trash. I'll give you one last chance. Obediently hand over the contribution points, or die." With a cold snort, Wang Ning's figure flashed and arrived in front of the gray-clothed youth who was vomiting blood. Then, his left palm once again condensed a surge of energy. His tone was cold and emotionless. "You." The gray-clothed youth's eyes were filled with fear. He was only an odd job disciple with a cultivation level of the first level of the body refinement realm. On the other hand, Wang Ning was an outer sect disciple with a cultivation level of the third level of the body refinement realm. Beside him, there were 2 other lackeys who were also outer sect disciples supporting him. This Wang Ning is only at the third level of the body refinement realm. Even that Xian Lin from before could easily deal with him, but no one dared to stop him because his brother is an inner sect disciple. This is the world of martial artists where the strong prey on the weak. So what if he's an odd job disciple? Do odd job disciples deserve to be bullied by others? Looking at the arrogant and despotic Wang Ning not far away, Fei Ren's hands quietly clenched under his sleeves. It was as if he recalled the days when he was begging on the streets of Wuhan town and was bullied and beaten by many rich kids. His tone was cold and indifferent. Chapter 10. Brother Fei, Don't be rash. Seeing Fei Rin's cold expression and his unstable aura, Zhao Ren turned pale with fright, as if he was afraid that the other party would suddenly attack. You want to stop me? Glancing at Zhao Ren beside him, Fei Rin coldly said. Not to mention that the Iron Palm Gate did not have a rule against disciples killing each other. If Wang Ning insisted on killing him, with the cultivation of the first level of the body refinement realm, the gray-clothed youth would definitely die without any ability to retaliate. Also, due to Wang Lingyun's prestige, none of the surrounding disciples in the restaurant dared to intervene. More importantly, the gray-clothed youth in front of them was only an odd-job disciple, without any strength or background. Other than Fei Rin, who could empathize with him, no one else was willing to take the risk. The Iron Palm Gate has a rule that disciples are not allowed to kill each other. Even if Wang Ning has his brother's support, he would definitely not dare to kill someone in public. At most, that kid would have one of his hands crippled. If we were to intervene, dealing with a third level of the body refinement realm, Wang Ning would not be a problem. But if we were to anger Wang Lingyun because of this, it would be troublesome. A drop of cold sweat slid down his forehead as Zhao Ren said in a serious tone, as if he had some understanding of the Wang brothers. Zhao Ren, you don't have to worry about this matter. I'll deal with it. Seemingly disapproving of Zhao Ren's words, Fei Rin's face was cold. In the next moment, his feet fiercely stomped on the ground, and his entire body rushed towards Wang Ning and the rest. TCH, it's over. Seeing that Fei Rin was determined to intervene, Zhao Ren also let out a long sigh, his face helpless, as if he had already predicted the outcome. Bone Breaker Hand. The corners of Wang Ning's mouth curled up as he glanced at the gray, clothed youth who had a weak aura on the ground, revealing a cruel smile. In the next moment, his right hand transformed into a claw as surging origin energy coiled around his fingers, and at the same time, he fiercely grabbed towards the gray, clothed youth's left arm. Wang Ning's bone-breaking hand was a Grade 1 martial art, and with his third level of the body refinement realm cultivation, it was more than enough to deal with a first-level body refinement realm martial artist. It was clear that if this attack landed, the gray-clothed youth would lose at least one of his arms. If it was serious, he might even die from excessive blood loss. Trash! Just as Wang Ning's attack was about to land on the body of the gray-clothed youth, a loud shout followed. Then his palm was instantly deflected away. Along with the shock wave, Wang Ning and the other two outer court disciples were forced to take a few steps back. Who are you? Seeing that his attack was blocked, Wang Ning was stunned for a moment. Then, he looked up and saw a black-haired young man in plain clothes standing quietly in front of him. His face was cold and calm. It was Fei Rin. Kid, who do you think you are? You dare to interfere and ruin my plans. Do you want to die? Seeing that Fei Rin's cultivation was only at the second level of the body refinement realm, Wang Ning's eyes widened in anger as he angrily shouted. Senior Wang is still an outer court disciple. It's bad enough that you bullied a service disciple, but you even bullied him with numbers. If this were to spread, you would become a laughing stock. Calmly looking at the furious Wang Ning, Fei Rin indifferently said with a calm expression, "Who is this kid? He actually interfered with Wang Ning's matters. He doesn't want to live anymore. Wang Ning's brother is the inner court disciple Wang Lingyun. I heard that Wang Lingyun is narrow-minded and extremely protective. If you anger him, you won't have a good ending. This time, there will be a good show to watch." Seeing that Fei Rin had blocked Wang Ning's attack, the surrounding disciples' faces changed as they discussed animatedly. Want to stand out? Let me see if you have the ability to do so. The two of you attack. With a cold snort, Wang Ning waved his hand. The two outer court disciples beside him shouted as they charged towards Fei Rin. They were both at the third level of the body refinement realm, so they were naturally confident that they could deal with Fei Rin, who was only at the second level of the body refinement realm. Die. Kid, take this. One of the outer court disciples swung his fist towards Fei Rin's chest. Strands of origin energy wrapped around his fist. It seemed to be a level 1 martial art. The other outer court disciple lifted his leg and kicked towards Fei Rin's lower body, intending to attack from both sides. Pung! Facing the attacks of the two, Fei Rin's face was calm as he crossed his arms in front of his body to protect himself. He actually received the attacks of the two without moving an inch. Unharmed, the crowd's faces changed. Fei Rin, who was only at the second level of the body refinement realm, was still able to deal with two opponents with ease. Obviously, no one had expected this. Is this all you've got? Circulating his chi condensation art, Fei Rin raised his eyes, and in the next moment his body shot out and a heavy fist smashed towards the outer court disciple beside him. A large amount of origin energy swept out, as if a ferocious tiger had descended from the mountains. Ever since Fei Rin had fused with the refining Immortal Cauldron, his strength and speed had increased exponentially. In addition, he had cultivated the level 1 martial art, chi condensation art, so his strength was even more shocking. With just one punch, he was able to send the outer court disciple, who was at the third level of the body refinement realm, flying backwards while vomiting blood. Kneel! After sending the outer court disciple flying backwards with one punch, Fei Rin's attack did not slow down. His body flashed and appeared in front of another outer court disciple. His slender palm lightly covered the chest of the outer court disciple, and in the next moment, origin energy swept out from his palm and pressed the outer court disciple's body into the limestone floor. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Even though he had not mastered any martial arts, he relied on the chi condensation art and the solid origin energy within his dantian. Dealing with two outer court disciples at the third level of the body refinement realm was more than enough for Fei Rin. After all, his body had been cleansed by the refining Immortal Cauldron, and his strength was shockingly strong. Instant kill. In just a few breaths of time, the two outer court disciples at the third level of the body refinement realm were dealt with by Fei Rin. Not to mention the surrounding disciples. Even Wang Ning, who was at the side, was unable to react in time. How is this possible? Kid, do you really want to go against me? Do you know who my big brother is? His fingers trembled as he looked at Fei Rin, who was like a god of death descending upon the earth. Wang Ning spoke incoherently. Even though his tone was still domineering, his body could not help but retreat backwards, as if there was a trace of fear in his heart. After all, he had been tyrannical in the Iron Palm sect for many years. Very few people dared to offend him, not to mention directly injuring people like Fei Rin. Even though the people he hit were his own subordinates, to Wang Ning, this was already a great humiliation. Senior Wang, please be clear about one thing. It was your two subordinates who made the first move. Moreover, I did not expect them to be so weak. Maybe outer court disciples only have this much ability. After killing two outer court disciples in one move, Fei Rin stopped and stood there. He then coldly laughed, and his words could not help but reveal a hint of sarcasm. Sharp-tongued bastard. Hearing this, Wang Ning was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices, and his face was deathly pale. Although Fei Rin did not name him, Wang Ning also knew that the other party was mocking him as trash. The anger in his heart that had yet to be suppressed gushed out again, and he immediately shouted, Fei Rin, you have guts. I will remember you. This matter is not over. Just you wait and see. What are you looking at? Get out of my way. Knowing that he was not a match for Fei Rin, Wang Ning also left behind a few ruthless words, then turned around and left angrily. The surrounding Iron Palm sect disciples all made way for him, as if they were afraid of provoking the angry Wang Ning. Wang Lingyun, come on, let me see how capable you are. Looking at Wang Ning's departing figure, Fei Rin's face was calm, and his clear black eyes flashed with a trace of fighting spirit. Wang Ning was nothing to be afraid of, and Wang Ning's big brother, Wang Lingyun, was an inner court disciple with powerful strength. Today, Fei Rin and the Wang brothers had a grudge, which meant that as long as he was in the Iron Palm sect, the other party would definitely come for revenge, and there was a high probability that they would not rest until one of them was dead. Thank you, big brother Fei Rin. After Wang Ning temporarily retreated, the gray-clothed youth struggled to get up from the ground and thanked him weakly. Although he kept the 10 contribution points in the greenwood token, the gray-clothed youth still suffered some injuries. Looking at the situation, he would probably need a rest for a few days. However, now that Fei Run had attracted most of Wang Ning's hatred, the gray-clothed youth did not have to worry about being retaliated against in the future. It's a small matter, but I advise you to exchange the contribution points in the token for inferior-grade primordial stones. Otherwise, if you are robbed in the future, no one will be able to help you. In the world of martial artists, the strong are respected. Without cultivation, everything else is illusory. Waving his hand, Fei Rin disapproved, and at the same time, his figure flashed and left the restaurant. Chapter 11. After forcing Wang Ning to retreat, Fei Rin did not stay in the restaurant any longer. Instead, he turned and ran towards the Xiushui Peak's main hall. His greenwood token still had 10 contribution points, which could be exchanged for an inferior-grade spirit stone. Even though he defeated 2 martial artists at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm by himself, Fei Rin's strength in the Iron Palm clan was not at the top. Not to mention Wang Lingyun, who was at the 6th level of the body refinement realm. Even some of the outer court disciples at the 4th level of the body refinement realm could pose a threat to him. Ever since his body merged with the refining Immortal Cauldron, Fei Rin's thirst for power grew stronger and stronger. In the world of martial arts, the strong were respected. Only by increasing one's strength was the way to go. Moreover, the Iron Palm clan was merely a third-rate power. His footsteps were destined to not stop here. Fei Rin, I can't help you this time. Wang Lingyun is an inner disciple, and his master is Elder Wu Tai. Us odd-job disciples can't afford to offend him. Looking at Fei Rin's departing figure, Zhao Run, who was watching from a distance, sighed, and also left resentfully. Xiushui Peak, Sect's main hall. In a short while, Fei Rin arrived. At this time, there were not many people in the hall. Only a few outer disciples were entering and exiting. He saw a plain-clothed old man sitting by a window. The plain-clothed old man's eyes were spirited, and his body emitted a strong aura. He seemed to be a powerful senior. Senior, I want to exchange for an inferior-grade spirit stone. Fei Rin said slowly as he handed the greenwood token to the plain-clothed old man. That's right, exactly 10 contribution points. Kid, this is an inferior-grade spirit stone for you. Reaching out to receive the greenwood token, the plain-clothed old man channeled his spirit energy into the token. He nodded lightly and at the same time took out a dark, lustrous pure white ore from his sleeve and threw it to Fei Rin. The pure white ore had distinct edges and corners, as if it was a crystal that had been cut. It faintly emitted a light, and one could sense strands of pure origin energy contained within it. Shockingly, it was a priceless origin stone. However, the quality of this origin stone wasn't too good. It was only the lowest grade origin stone. Although they were inferior grade source stones, if they were placed in the Dachu dynasty's black market, they could be sold for several hundred taels of silver. In the world of martial artists, source stones were hard currency. However, silver and gold were also favored by low-level martial artists and some sections. Thank you, Senior. Fei Rin grinned as he gripped the origin stone tightly. His face revealed a trace of gratification. His cultivation level was at the 2nd level of the body refinement stage. After absorbing this inferior-grade origin stone, there was a high probability that he would be able to break through to the 3rd level of the body refinement stage. At that time, he would have a higher chance of winning against Wang Lingyun. After leaving the sect's Great Hall, Fei Rin directly returned to his residence. Because he was an odd-job disciple, he didn't have a single room. Instead, he shared a room with a few odd-job disciples. His room was also rather messy. You've offended Wang Ning. From now on, your situation in the Iron Palm sect will be difficult. Wang Lingyun is a vengeful person. He won't let you off so easily. Just as he returned to his residence, before Fei Rin had time to cultivate, a cold male voice came from afar. It's you? Hearing the voice, Fei Rin turned around and was slightly stunned. He saw a blue-robed youth with a resolute face and a large snow-white blade on his back appear on the left side of the gate. At this moment, he was looking at him with a serious expression. It was Feng Hui from Tianshui Town. "Brother Feng, you didn't come here just to warn me, right?" Seeing that the person who came was Feng Hui, Fei Run grinned, and his expression returned to normal. Wang Lingyun was already at the 6th level of the body refinement realm a year ago. "You're just an odd job disciple who just entered the Iron Palm sect. You've never met the gray-clothed youth who was bullied by Wang Ning before. Why are you getting involved in this mess?" Frowning, Feng Hui didn't answer directly. Instead, he said in a deep voice, "It's nothing. I just don't like him. Moreover, there's sect rules. Wang Lingyun doesn't dare to fight me directly. If I can't beat him, I can still run away." Shrugging his shoulders, Fei Ren had a calm expression on his face. Although he had provoked a strong enemy, Fei Run was as calm as ever. After all, he had the immortal refining cauldron in his body. It wouldn't take long for his cultivation to surpass Wang Lingyun and ruthlessly trample him under his feet. "Fei Run, you're indeed a strange person. I, Feng Hui, admire you." Taking a deep breath, Feng Hui cupped his hands and said. He seemed to be shocked by Fei Ren's daring and carefulness. Although he and Wang Lingyun had some deep grudges, due to the difference in strength, Feng Hui didn't dare to make it too obvious. On the other hand, Fei Ren in front of him knew that there was a tiger in the mountain, but he still went to the mountain. It was obvious that he didn't put Wang Lingyun, an inner sect disciple, in his eyes at all. "Brother Feng, do you have a grudge against Wang Lingyun?" Smiling, Fei Ren's gaze looked around. Seeing that there was no one else, he lowered his voice and said, "How do you know?" Hearing this, Feng Hui's expression didn't change, but his fists under his sleeves quietly clenched. "On the day of the disciple recruitment, your eyes flashed with killing intent when you looked at Wu Tai. Although it was just a flash, it didn't escape my eyes. I think you joined the Iron Palm sect to seek revenge on Wang Lingyun." Shaking his head, Fei Ren said lightly, as if he wasn't afraid of causing Feng Hui's fear. "That's right." Taking a few deep breaths, seeing that Fei Ren had noticed his intentions, Feng Hui didn't hide anymore. At the same time, he said slowly, 3 years ago, Wang Lingyun came to Tianshui Town to participate in a martial arts competition held by a family. My brother was also there. The two of them met in the arena. Originally, my brother had already admitted defeat, but this bastard still wanted to kill him. He shattered my brother's dantian, causing my brother to be dispirited and commit suicide. From that day on, I swore that I would kill Wang Lingyun with my own hands and avenge my brother. At this point, Feng Hui's eyes couldn't help but turn red. He gritted his teeth as if his heart contained endless killing intent. "I see. Brother Feng, since you have an old grudge with Wang Lingyun, then you are my friend. Believe me, this guy won't be jumping around for long. Your brother's death will be avenged sooner or later." Rubbing his chin, Fei Ren comforted him. After all, this was the residence of the servant disciples. There were many people here, and now was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality with Wang Lingyun. If this matter spread out, it would definitely arouse the other party's vigilance and revenge. "Brother Fei Ren, then we'll talk next time. Goodbye." Seeming to feel that Fei Ren's words made sense, Feng Hui nodded deeply. The next moment, he cupped his hands and turned to leave. "I still have to increase my strength first, otherwise everything will be fleeting." After Feng Hui left, Fei Ren also returned to the house. He then took out the inferior grade primordial stone with a solemn expression. Refined, tightly gripping the inferior grade primordial stone in his hand, Fei Ren silently shouted. At the same time, he activated his chi condensation art and slowly absorbed the pure yuan power within the inferior grade primordial stone into his body. Not long after, strands of yuan power swept past Fei Ren's 8 extraordinary meridians and finally converged at his dantian. His eyebrows slightly raised. Fei Ren's face was slightly surprised. Just a moment ago, the yuan power that had originally converged at his dantian suddenly turned around and all of it poured into the refining Immortal Cauldron. After a few breaths, an even purer and larger yuan power erupted from within the refining immortal cauldron and flowed into his dantian like a stream. As a result, Fei Rin's yuan power cultivation level slowly rose. Third level body refinement stage. Lightly exhaling a mouthful of turbid qi, Fei Rin's eyes were spirited. After absorbing the inferior grade primordial stone, his cultivation level had also broken through and reached the third level of the body refinement stage. Everything in this world can be swallowed and refined. Even primordial stones are unavoidable. A single inferior grade primordial stone, after being swallowed by the refining immortal cauldron, finally gives back a pure yuan power that is comparable to the sum of several inferior grade primordial stones. This is the strength of an immortal treasure. Feeling the overflowing yuan power in his body, Fei Rin did not slack off and turned to cultivate the qi condensation art. The qi condensation art was a level 1 cultivation method and could increase a practitioner's strength and yuan power cultivation level. Although the increase was not huge, it was better than nothing. Qi condensation art, advanced stage. In a short while, Fei Rin had consolidated his cultivation level at the third level of the body refinement stage. At the same time, he had also cultivated the qi condensation art to advanced stage, and his strength had greatly improved. Even if he had not mastered any martial arts, the current him had the ability to battle against a 5th level body refinement stage practitioner. Cultivation methods and martial arts were the same. Every stage was divided into entry, initial stage, advanced stage, and perfect stage. After undergoing the refining immortal cauldron's internal cleansing, Fei Rin's innate talent and perception were already extraordinary. Furthermore, the qi condensation art was merely a level 1 cultivation method. Thus, he quickly grasped it and cultivated it to advanced stage. It's time to go out and accept a mission. Primordial stones are good stuff. Gazing at the gradually rising sunset in the outside world, Fei Rin lazily stretched his waist as a trace of exhaustion appeared on his face. Unknowingly, he had already cultivated for an entire day. Fortunately, today's harvest was not small. Not only did his strength have a breakthrough, his cultivation method had also greatly improved. Chapter 12. There were 2 ways for the disciples of the Iron Palm School to earn contribution points. The first was to collect a fixed monthly salary from the Greenwood token. The second was to complete sect missions. The difficulty of the sect missions varied and were generally divided into 3 levels. Level 1 missions were the lowest, and Level 3 missions were the highest. Fei Rin's current identity was an odd job disciple. His monthly salary was 10 contribution points. However, completing a Level 1 mission would only give him 1 contribution point. A Level 2 mission would give him 5 points. As for the most difficult Level 3 mission, he would get 10 points, which was equivalent to his monthly salary. 1 inferior grade, Origin Stone, requires 10 contribution points. My cultivation has just broken through to the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. If I don't use the power of the immortal refining cauldron, I would need at least several inferior grade Origin Stones to break through. It seems like the contribution points from a Level 1 mission is not enough. I should at least take a few Level 2 missions. Secretly calculating in his heart, Fei Rin's eyes showed that he was deep in thought. His cultivation had increased to the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. His qi condensation technique had also been cultivated to the large success stage. Even if he did not use the power of the immortal refining cauldron, he would still have the strength to fight against a martial artist at the 5th level of the body refinement realm. Taking a Level 3 mission would be a bit of a stretch. However, completing a few Level 2 missions was still more than enough. The next day, early in the morning, Fei Rin ended his cultivation state. At the same time, he rushed towards the Shoshui Peak's main hall. The contribution points in the token are empty. I need to quickly increase my strength. Otherwise, my chances of winning against that guy, Wang Lingyun, are not high. After a while, Fei Rin rushed to the main hall. There were not many people in front of the main hall. In front of a window in the main hall, The plain-robed old man from yesterday was still leisurely drinking fragrant tea. Seeing Fei Ren rush over, his eyebrows twitched, and he lightly said, "Little kid, are you here to take a sect mission?" "Senior, I want to take a level 2 mission." Nodding his head, Fei Ren opened his mouth. The white-robed old man was the guardian of the great hall of the sect. At the same time, he was also the confidant of sect master Guohuai. He had followed Guohuai since he established the Iron Palm sect. Although he was old, his strength could not be underestimated. He had already stepped into the half-step middle union boundary. Even Elder Wu Tai was far from being his match. Although Fei Ren didn't know much about this ferocious person in front of him, he more or less knew the other party's position and background in the sect. Naturally, he was respectful and reverent. "Here, take your pick." Glancing at Fei Ren, the white-robed old man took out a scroll and opened it in front of him. The black words on the scroll were densely packed. It seemed that there were quite a few missions recorded. Most of them were level 1 missions. About 20% of them were level 2 missions. Level 3 missions were the least, with only a dozen or so. Level 2 mission: kill a mid-level mortal rank magical beast, blazing ape. Obtain its head. Reward: 5 contribution points. Level 1 mission: turn in 5 fine iron ores, and you will be rewarded with 1 contribution point. Level 2 mission: kill a mid-level mortal rank magical beast, demon windbird. Obtain its wings, and you will be rewarded with 5 contribution points. Level 3 mission: turn in an ice heart flower that is at least 50 years old. Reward: 10 contribution points and 5 low-grade primordial stones. Ice heart flower. This thing is a rare medicinal ingredient. Sweeping his gaze around, Fei Ren saw a line of small black words on the scroll. His pupils could not help but shrink as he secretly exclaimed, "Ice heart flower, petals like snow and leaves like thorns." It was a rare item among level 2 medicinal ingredients. The older it was, the more leaves it had. It could be used to refine pills and could also be taken orally to increase one's cultivation. It had always been valuable in the Dachu dynasty's black market. Even if it was only 20 or 30 years old, it could be sold for at least 100 taels of gold. An ice heart flower that is at least 50 years old should be enough to exchange for 1 low-grade primordial stone. Whatever, I'll just accept it first. In any case, there's no loss even if I can't find the ice heart flower in the end. Thinking up to here, Fei Ren immediately made up his mind and conveniently accepted a few level 2 missions, as well as this level 3 mission to turn in an ice heart flower. After all, 10 contribution points and 5 low-grade primordial stones were also quite a bit of windfall. "Little kid, the ice heart flower is very difficult to find. You might have to enter the depths of the Hengduan mountain range to find a trace of it. Are you sure you want to accept this level 3 mission?" Seeing Fei Ren accept the level 3 mission to turn in an ice heart flower, the white-robed old man behind the window was slightly surprised and immediately questioned him. After all, the higher the grade of the medicinal ingredient, the harder it was to find. Moreover, there were magical beasts residing near some rare medicinal ingredients. The strength of these magical beasts was not weak. If they encountered a human martial artist who wanted to snatch the medicinal ingredient, they would inevitably engage in a slaughter. The Fei Ren in front of him was only at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm and did not have much of an advantage. "Yes, I'll have to trouble Senior." Cupping his hands, Fei Ren firmly said, "Little kid, with your little strength, this old man advises you to act according to your ability. It's fine if you encounter a mortal rank, middle rank magical beast. But if you encounter a mortal rank, high rank magical beast, I'm sure you know what the outcome will be." Seeming to feel that Fei Ren's character was not bad, the white-robed old man grinned and meaningfully reminded him, "Thank you, Senior, for your concern. I know what to do." Rubbing his nose, seeing that the white-robed old man was not optimistic about his strength, Fei Ren did not want to explain anything and dryly laughed as he replied, "A mortal rank, high rank magical beast strength was not ordinary. It was equivalent to a human martial artist at the 7th or 8th level of the body refinement realm. With Fei Ren's current strength, he was naturally not a match for it, but he could still run. After all, Immortal rank magical beast intelligence was not high. If he really encountered it, he was not without countermeasures. Not long after, Fei Run left the sect's main hall. This time, he received a total of 3 level 2 missions and 1 level 3 mission. Even if he did not obtain the level 2 herb, Ice Heart Flower, as long as he completed the other 3 level 2 missions, he would be able to obtain 15 contribution points. It was not a loss. There are only a few wild beasts and low-rank magical beasts in the outskirts of the Hungduan mountain range. A level 2 herb like the Ice Heart Flower basically does not exist in the outskirts of the mountain range. I can only enter the depths of the mountain range to search for it. Before that, I need to first obtain a weapon. After leaving the sect, Fei Ren did not directly enter the Hungduan mountain range to experience the dangers. Instead, he went to a blacksmith shop in Wuhan town to prepare to purchase some weapons and equipment. After all, his cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. Once his yuan power was exhausted and temporarily unable to recover, he could only rely on ordinary weapons to defend against enemies. Fei Ren had just entered the Iron Palm sect not long ago. These past few days, he had been busy cultivating and did not go out to complete missions. He did not have much wealth on him, only a dozen or so taels of silver. It was only enough to buy some crude weapons and equipment. In Wuhan town, in a blacksmith shop somewhere, the sound of smithing was endless. Not long after, Fei Ren's hands had an additional black fire stick, a set of flying needles with fine craftsmanship, and a piece of soft armor that was not very nice to look at. Although these pieces of equipment were very trashy, they still cost him all his wealth. Damn, this fire stick is made of iron, or right. It's not even as good as fine iron, or let alone a level 1 spirit treasure. It probably won't be able to block the claws of those magical beasts. Forget it, I'll just make do with it. No matter how trashy it is, it's still a weapon. After waving the black fire stick a few times, Fei Ren's face was full of black lines. In the next moment, he could not help but sigh. At the same time, he carried the black fire stick on his back and walked out of the blacksmith shop. In the Xian Star continent, other than cultivation and martial arts, possessing a strong spirit treasure could also increase a martial artist's overall strength. The stronger the spirit treasure, the higher the level. Generally, it was divided into 9 levels. Level 1 spirit treasure was the lowest level, and level 9 spirit treasures were the strongest. To some martial artists, the value of a spirit treasure was not inferior to a strong martial arts or martial arts. Although Fei Ren's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm, if he was given a level 1 spirit treasure, even if he met a level 6 body refinement realm martial artist, he would not be afraid. He could even easily kill them. This was the strength of a spirit treasure. Chapter 13. The Hungduan mountain range was located in the northeast of the Dachu dynasty. It was a strategic location with many wild beasts and rich resources. There were even more powerful demonic beasts in the depths of the mountain range. Some of the demonic beasts had even existed since the founding of the Dachu dynasty 100 years ago. Although Wuhan town was just an inconspicuous town at the foot of the Hungduan mountain range, it had a geographical advantage. Rogue cultivators could freely enter and leave the Hungduan mountain range through the town. Although there were many demonic beasts in the periphery of the Hungduan mountain range, most of these demonic beasts had low levels. The demonic energy and spiritual intelligence in their bodies were not high. Many rogue cultivators from the Dachu dynasty had always come here to train. At the same time, an organization called the Hunter Group was born. Unlike the ordinary wandering martial artists, the Hunter Corps was an independent organization that specialized in hunting magical beasts for a living. They usually had a lot of members and were good at using human wave tactics. Among them, the leaders were all experienced martial artists, and the subordinates were from all walks of life. In Wuhan town, even the weakest hunter group had at least 20 to 30 members. The strongest hunter group even had up to 100 members. Disregarding the servant disciples, The Hunter Group's foundation was comparable to the third-rate Iron Palm Gate. As there were many demonic beasts in the Hungwan mountain range, it would be fine if one encountered one or two demonic beasts. However, if one was unlucky and encountered a group of demonic beasts, one would basically die. Therefore, most of the rogue cultivators would travel in groups, while some would choose to join the Hunter Group. However, because he had the Immortal refining divine cauldron, Fei Run did not plan to join the Hunter Group. Instead, he went into the mountain alone to train. After all, a man's wealth was his own ruin. The benefits of being a lone ranger were obvious. Firstly, the secret of the Immortal refining divine cauldron would not be exposed. Secondly, he was used to being alone. Dacha Dynasty, the periphery of the Hungduan mountain range. Rustle. On the treetops of a dense forest, a blurry gray figure vaguely appeared. The luxuriant branches and leaves around it fluttered with the wind, making a faint sound. At the same time, the gray figure's figure was completely covered, as if it had become one with the surrounding environment. The blazing ape should be this guy. On the treetops, a sharp gaze pierced through the branches and leaves and landed quietly on the ground below. Behind the layers of branches and leaves, a handsome young face gradually appeared. His eyes were bright and full of spirit. It was Fei Run, who had entered the mountains to train. In the open space, there was a huge fiery red ape lying quietly on the ground. At this moment, it was making light snoring sounds, as if it was in a deep sleep. The giant ape's ears were slender, but its tail was strangely short. Its cheeks were incomparably red, but it was no different from an ordinary human's. Its body faintly emitted traces of magical fluctuations. It was a mid-level mortal rank magical beast, Blazing Ape. The Blazing Ape is a common rank middle rank magical beast and is comparable to a human martial artist at the 5th level of the body refinement realm. However, this beast's magical energy is slightly weaker than other common rank middle rank magical beasts, and its battle prowess isn't considered too strong. This young master will start with it. Holding his breath and concentrating, Fei Run gently pushed aside the leaves in front of him. At the same time, he slowly took out a few sharp silver needles from his waist. His expression was calm. Go! After quietly waiting for a few minutes, he sensed that the blazing ape had already fallen into a deep sleep and that its defense and alertness had dropped to the lowest point. Fei Run, who was hiding in the treetop, immediately made his move. In an instant, he shot out several concealed silver needles, aiming straight for the blazing ape's eyes and ears. Whoosh! Whoosh! The concealed silver needles pierced through the air and emitted a burst of wind-breaking sound. The attack was extremely fast and immediately and fiercely hit the blazing ape's eyes and ears. The sharp silver needles pierced through the blazing ape's skin and instantly splashed out a trace of blood. At the same time, it left behind a few wounds that could be seen with the naked eye. Roar! Suddenly being attacked, the blazing ape that was originally in a deep sleep on the open space was abruptly awakened. In the next moment, it let out a series of loud roars. Its eyes were bloodshot, and at the same time, they were incomparably large, as if it had been completely enraged. Roar! Roar! Stomping its feet and pounding its chest a few times, the blazing ape's gaze turned and suddenly looked at the treetop where Fei Run was hiding. Its eyes were filled with killing intent, and a magical energy overflowed from its body, as if it had already discovered the opponent's figure. Have I been discovered? Seeing the blazing ape looking in his direction, Fei Run's face turned cold. He immediately stopped hiding, and his figure soared into the air and landed on the open space. Red-furred monster, play with your grandpa, Fei? Once again, clenching a few concealed silver needles in his hand, Fei Run had a playful expression as he looked at the enraged blazing ape. At the same time, he raised his hand and lightly hooked it, full of provocation. Roar! As if it was once again enraged by Fei Run's provocation, the blazing ape once again let out a sky-shaking roar. In the next moment, its figure suddenly swooped down. Its huge palms were mixed with surging magical energy as it swept towards Fei Ren's head, intending to separate his head from his body. Go! With a light shake of his wrist, Fei Ren once again shot out a few concealed silver needles. At the same time, he stretched out his hand to touch the black fire rod on his back. In the next moment, he circulated his chi condensation technique, and the magical energy in his body swept out like an ocean, sweeping towards the blazing ape's palms. Bang! Bang! In just a breath's time, the concealed silver needles were deflected by the blazing ape's palms. In the next moment, the huge palms and the black fire rod fiercely collided together. At the same time, a wave of muffled sound rang out. A large amount of magical energy intertwined and swept out, causing the surrounding trees and leaves to sway and dust to rise in all directions. What a strong force! Tightly gripping the black fire rod in his hand and feeling the enormous force coming from the rod, Fei Ren's face turned red as he secretly exclaimed, "Even though this beast's magical energy is weak, its strength is shockingly strong. I can't delay any longer." Boom! The magical energy intertwined and exploded. At the same time, it also shook Fei Ren's figure back a few dozen steps. He landed at the back with a calm expression on his face. Even though the blazing ape's strength wasn't much and was only a common middle rank magical beast, its realm was still there. Fei Ren was only at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm, so it would be difficult to win in terms of pure strength. He could only rely on his magical energy and techniques to kill his opponent. Huff! Huff! After forcing Fei Ren back with one strike, the blazing ape's aura was greatly reduced. The magical energy fluctuation on its body also weakened quite a bit. It seemed that it had used up quite a bit of magical energy in the fight with Fei Ren. The wounds on its eyes and ears from before had also become more serious and were now unceasingly dripping with blood. Come again. Tightly gripping the black fire rod in his hand, Fei Ren's figure once again rushed out explosively. At the same time, he circulated his magical energy and smashed the rod towards the blazing ape's head. Obviously, he had used all of his strength. Roar! A trace of despair flashed across the blazing ape's red eyes. It had used up more than half of its magical energy and was also heavily injured. It was simply not a match for Fei Ren. Bang! Fei Ren's attack was like the wind. With an explosive sound, the black fire rod fiercely smashed onto the blazing ape's head. Instantly, red and white matter scattered. In the next moment, the blazing ape's body also tilted and fell to the ground, completely devoid of life. I've finally dealt with this beast. I wonder if there are any magical cores inside. After killing the blazing ape in one strike, Fei Ren also let out a long breath of turbid air. His face revealed a gratified expression. Although the strength of a common middle rank magical beast was not much, there was a chance that a magical core would be born within its body. Magical cores and medicinal ingredients were the same. They were all rare goods and could be used as raw materials for refining medicinal pills or even spiritual treasures. For some alchemists and refiners, the value of a top-grade magical core was immeasurable. It could also be sold for quite a bit on the black market. If he was able to obtain some low-grade magical cores, Fei Ren could also exchange them for quite a number of low-grade origin stones. In addition to the refining power of the Immortal refining cauldron, his cultivation would certainly rise rapidly. Not to mention a mere refinement stage. Stepping into the middle combine stage was just around the corner. Chapter 14. Bang! Fei Ren raised his hand and channeled his spirit power. He smashed the corpse of the blazing ape in front of him into pieces, and at the same time, evaporated the blood that splashed everywhere. There really is a monster core. With his eyes wide open, Fei Ren's face was full of joy. He saw that in the abdomen of the blazing ape, a red crystal core the size of a goose egg appeared. It was emitting traces of magic power. It was the essence of a monster's body, a rare monster core. According to the price of the Dachu Dynasty's black market, a middle-level monster core could be sold for at least a few taels of gold. It was comparable to hundreds of taels of silver. Its value was not much less than a vitality stone. After all, a low-grade vitality stone was only worth a few hundred taels of silver. Good stuff. Restraining his expression, Fei Run raised his hand and summoned the red monster core in the abdomen of the blazing ape into his palm. At the same time, he lightly swept the black stick and chopped off the head of the ape. Before he left the sect, he received many level 2 missions, including killing the blazing ape and obtaining its head. After all, completing a level 2 mission gave him 5 contribution points. Although it was not as good as a level 3 mission, it was still meat no matter how little it was. Unfortunately, I don't have a spirit ring. If I could get a spirit ring, it would be much more convenient whether it was killing or training. After putting away the monster core and the blazing ape's head, Fei Ren sighed. Because he didn't have a spirit ring to store items, he could only hurriedly wrap them up and carry them on his back. Coupled with his gray clothes, he looked a little rustic for a moment. A spirit ring was a type of ring made from special minerals, and it was created by an equipment refiner. It was capable of storing anything, and some spirit rings that were of a higher grade were even capable of freely storing living things. In the Dachu dynasty, the value of a spirit ring wasn't low as well. A single low-grade spirit ring cost over 100 gold, and an ordinary martial artist could be considered to be wealthy if they possessed a single spirit ring. When he had just joined the Iron Palm School, Fei Ren had seen an outer disciple use something like a spirit ring. In just a breath of time, he had taken out a talent bronze pillar that was as tall as several people. Although it was only a low-level spirit ring, not everyone had it. It was Wu Tai's. Wu Tai was an elder of the Iron Palm clan, and his cultivation had already reached the 8th level of the body refinement realm. With his strength, obtaining a low-grade spirit ring that was worth a few hundred taels of gold was not a difficult matter. For Fei Ren, who was only at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm, obtaining a low-grade spirit ring was a little difficult, unless a windfall fell from the sky. Other than a monster core, the corpse of the blazing ape is still here. It's too wasteful to just leave it here. Fei Ren withdrew his thoughts and looked at the blazing ape's corpse on the ground once more. He seemed to be lost in thought. Divine Cauldron, appear. With a thought, the immortal refining cauldron slowly appeared in Fei Ren's right palm. It was densely covered with inscriptions and at the same time emitted a circle of ancient aura. The immortal refining cauldron was a rare treasure of the immortal path. It could absorb everything in the world and raise the host's cultivation. Although the blazing ape in front of him was not a high-level magical beast, there was still some essence left in its corpse. If it was swallowed and absorbed, it could raise Fei Ren's cultivation. Refine. Strands of origin power gushed out from his palm as Fei Ren's face turned serious. Buzz, buzz. Along with the origin power pouring into the immortal refining cauldron, the originally quiet and motionless immortal refining cauldron had a reaction. It suddenly exploded with an extremely powerful suction force and instantly sucked all the blazing ape's corpse into the cauldron. At the same time, it emitted a weak, buzzing sound. After a while, the essence of the blazing ape's corpse was completely absorbed by the immortal refining cauldron. At the same time, it was transformed into extremely pure origin power that continuously poured into Fei Ren's dantian. Fei Ren's cultivation also slowly rose at this moment and finally stopped at the threshold of the 4th level of the body refinement realm. So satisfying. Deeply exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Fei Ren put away the immortal refining cauldron with a flip of his hand. A gleam of joy flashed across his eyes. As expected, after the immortal refining cauldron absorbed the remaining essence of the blazing ape's corpse, his cultivation actually rose rapidly. He was only a step away from the 4th level of the body refinement realm, and his strength had increased by quite a bit. With such a tyrannical and valiant immortal cauldron, in this world, who could be a match for me? Fei Ren, Deeply feeling the power of the immortal refining cauldron, Fei Ren's delicate and handsome face revealed a trace of shock. Although he had not cultivated any martial arts, purely in terms of origin power, he indeed did not lose to any martial artist at the 5th level of the body refinement realm. He could even occupy the upper hand. It would not be an exaggeration to call him a genius. There are fewer opportunities in the outer regions of the mountain range. Wait until I break through to the 4th level of the body refinement realm. This young master will go deeper into the mountain range to take a look. If I can find a stalk of 50-year-old ice-heart flower, this experiential learning trip will be worth it. After resting for a while, the origin power in his body had more or less recovered. Fei Ren did not stay in this forest clearing for long. In the next moment, his figure leaped into the air and onto a treetop. He then turned around and entered the vast, dense forest, his figure disappearing without a trace. Hunduan Mountain Range, outer regions, big brother, it's injured. Its abdomen is its weakness. This beast, a mere high-level mortal rank magical beast, is actually so difficult to deal with. A human figure flashed in front of Cliff. Origin energy swept out and wreaked havoc. At the same time, the roars of several demonic beasts and the sounds of human martial artists fighting could be heard. The aftermath of the explosion caused by the intertwining of origin energy and demonic energy spread out in all directions, enveloping the entire cliff. Roar! There was another earth-shaking roar, and the dust gradually dissipated, revealing the true appearance inside. A huge black lizard was besieged and attacked by 2 human cultivators. At this moment, its eyes were red, exuding a fierce and murderous aura. Traces of blood were dripping from its hard, barbed skin, and it seemed to have suffered a lot of injuries. Although the ground lizard beast is only a high-level mortal rank magical beast, its entire body is a treasure, especially its bones. If we kill this beast, even if we don't get the magic core, us 2 brothers will still be able to make a fortune. Not far from the cliff, a middle-aged man dressed in black had a happy expression. At the same time, he gripped the weapon in his hand tightly. Waves of origin power continuously gushed out from his dantian. At this moment, he was eyeing the huge lizard covetously. Second brother, it's already at the end of its road. This kind of magical beast intelligence is not high, but it's quite fierce. It's very likely that it will fight to the death. Be careful. Turning his gaze, the middle-aged man looked to the other side and finally landed on a gray-robed youth. He warned in a deep voice. Understood. The gray-robed youth lightly nodded. At the same time, he lightly swung his hands, and 2 sharp silver ring darts appeared in his hands. He seemed to be an expert in using hidden weapons. The middle-aged man in front of him was not weak, having already reached the 7th level of the body refinement realm. As for the gray-robed youth on the other side, he was slightly weaker, only at the 6th level of the body refinement realm. The 2 seemed to be biological brothers. Regardless of whether it was cooperation or tacit understanding, they were perfect. Although the ground lizard beast in front of them was a high-level mortal rank magical beast, its strength was comparable to the 7th or 8th level of the body refinement realm. However, against the middle-aged man and the gray-robed youth, it had no chance of winning. Soon, it was covered in injuries and was on the verge of death. The magic core on its body fluctuated unsteadily, and its aura was weak. It's the ground lizard beast. Not far from the cliff, Fei Ren, who was alarmed by the sound of fighting, hurried over. Seeing a pair of human martial artists besieging a huge black lizard, he was immediately stunned. The ground lizard beast was a high-level mortal rank magical beast. No matter whether it was its magic core or its bones, they were priceless. Both could be used as materials to forge spirit treasures. If an ordinary ground lizard beast bone was cut off, its value would not be lower than a low-grade origin stone. So they were besieging this ground lizard beast. If I can get some ground lizard beast bones and magic core, tisk, hiding in the treetops, Fei Ren rubbed his chin, his face filled with emotion. Chapter 15. Roar. While Fei-Run was observing the battle, the ground lizard beast on the cliff was also forced into a desperate situation by the middle-aged man and the gray-robed youth. At this moment, it let out a low roar of anger and unwillingness. Horizontal flying lightning slash. Seizing the opportunity, the middle-aged man raised the weapon in his hand high, and in the next moment he slashed at the ground lizard beast in front of him. The attack was swift and aimed directly at the ground lizard beast's weak abdomen. Torrential Pear, Blossom Dart. Seeing the middle-aged man launch another attack, the gray-robed youth naturally did not want to fall behind. Both of his wrists flicked lightly, and dozens of extremely sharp silver ring darts swiftly shot out, aiming at the ground lizard beast's eyes and ears. Pucci. The blades were mixed with yuan power and ruthlessly pierced into the ground lizard beast's flesh. The originally hard skin of the ground lizard beast was now as fragile as tofu, and in just a breath's time, blood flowed out, unable to stop the middle-aged man's attack. Roar. Although the ground lizard beast was a high-level mortal-level magical beast, it was already severely injured at this moment, and there was not even a tenth of the magical power left in its body. Facing the combined attack of the middle-aged man and the gray-robed youth, it naturally had no strength to resist. It let out a few mournful cries and was killed on the spot. Its huge body fell heavily, shaking a circle of dust. This beast, we finally killed it. I wasted dozens of torrential pear blossom dart. Seeing that the ground lizard beast was killed, the gray-robed youth breathed a sigh of relief and then reached out to wipe off the dripping sweat on his forehead. In order to deal with this high-level, mortal-level magical beast, not only did he use his best hidden weapon, but also consumed a lot of yuan power. Second brother, quickly check if this beast has a magical core in its body. The middle-aged man's figure stopped, and a trace of relief appeared on his determined face. At the same time, he withdrew his yuan power and looked at the ground lizard beast's corpse with a burning gaze. Pucci. Tightly holding a silver ring dart in his left hand, the gray-robed youth stepped forward, and in the next moment, he gently cut open the ground lizard beast's stomach. At the same time, blood splashed out, and a pungent smell of blood spread out. Ugh! The middle-aged man frowned as he sensed the pungent smell of blood spreading from the ground lizard beast's corpse. He subconsciously covered his mouth and nose with an unnatural expression on his face. The ground lizard beast was an advanced mortal rank magic beast. The magic power in its body wasn't weak, and its whole body was full of treasures. Its only weakness was that it smelled bad, especially its blood, which could even be described as stinky. It's a magic core. Big brother, there really are magic cores. We're rich this time. The gray-robed youth endured the unpleasant and pungent smell of blood. Then, he circulated his primary power to cover his hands. Then, he stretched his hand into the belly of the lizard beast and groped around. His face turned ecstatic after a few breaths. Then, he pulled out a blood-stained black magic core. A high-grade mortal-level magic core was worth several hundred taels of gold, which was enough to exchange for dozens of low-grade primal stones. Moreover, the ground lizard beast's body was full of treasures. Its bones and teeth could be sold. It was no wonder that the gray-robed young man was so excited. Second brother, I've been stuck at the 7th level of the body refinement realm for many years. It seems like there's hope for me to break through this time. After receiving the magic core, the middle-aged man's face was filled with excitement. His name was Qi Long, and he was a famous magic beast hunter in Wuhan Town. He didn't belong to any hunter group. The gray-robed youth beside him was called Qi Yu, and he was his younger brother. The two of them often went into the mountains to hunt magic beasts together. Kikik, it's too early for you to be happy. Just as Qi Long and Qi Yu were about to collect their spoils of war, a sinister laugh came from the nearby forest. Who's there? Qi Long's expression changed slightly when he heard this. In the next moment, his gaze looked towards the nearby dense forest on the cliff. He saw a black figure slowly appear, and at the same time, it emitted an origin energy fluctuation that was even more formidable than the two of them. 8th level of the body, refinement stage. Qi Yu's eyes froze, and his face was filled with shock. The newcomer didn't hide his aura, and he could clearly sense that the other party had reached the 8th level of the body refinement stage. He was even stronger than his brother Qilong. Moreover, he had been hiding for a long time without the two brothers noticing. It was obvious that he didn't have good intentions. Shua, the black figure slowly landed in front of Qilong and Qiyu. It was a skinny middle-aged man with a sallow face and a sinister gaze. At this moment, he was looking at the two of them with a cunning smile, as if the other party was a turtle in a jar that could be easily taken out. Spirit Owl Hunter Group, Snake 5. Qilong's pupils shrank as he said in a low voice, as if he had already discovered the other party's background. The Spirit Owl Hunter Group was one of the most famous hunter groups in Wuhan Town. The group leader, Zhong Spirit Owl, was very powerful. It was said that he had stepped into the half-step Middle Union realm many years ago. As for Snake 5, he was one of the upper echelons of the Spirit Owl Hunter Group. Qilong, at least you have some eyesight. Since you recognized me, then there's no need to talk nonsense. Obediently hand over the earth lizard beast monster core and corpse, then scram, and I'll let you brothers live. The black-clothed middle-aged man named Snake 5 sneered. He seemed to be confident in his strength and wasn't afraid of the other party making a move. Snake 5, we spent a lot of effort to kill this earth lizard beast. Why should we give it to you? Hearing this, Qilong's face was as gloomy as stagnant water. Qiyu, who was beside him, was furious and immediately shouted, "Why? Because of my strength." Glancing at the enraged Qiyu, Snake 5 curled his lips in disdain. At the same time, the origin energy in his body surged. His figure actually charged violently and instantly arrived in front of Qiyu, giving him no time to react at all. "You, second brother, be careful." Seeing Snake 5 suddenly attacking, Qilong's face changed. 100 snake hands. Snake 5's face was cruel. His wrists were like agile snakes as they wrapped around Qiyu's arms. They were mixed with rolling origin energy and brought along layers of snake shadows. Hiss! Pucci! Facing Snake 5's attack, Qiyu had just revolved his origin energy to resist when it was defeated by the layers of snake shadows. His face immediately paled, and he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. At the same time, his figure flew backward and finally fell to the ground. Qiyu was an expert in concealed weapons, and his cultivation was far inferior to Snake 5's. Naturally, he was no match for him in a direct confrontation. Fortunately, his cultivation had reached the 6th level of the body refinement realm. Although he wasn't a match for Snake 5, he wasn't killed in one blow. So strong, this Snake 5 of the Spirit Owl Hunter Group is stronger than that bastard Wu Tai. Not far away, Fei Run, who was hiding in a treetop somewhere in the dense forest, saw Snake 5's attack, and his eyelids twitched. His face was filled with surprise. "Trash, killing you will really dirty my hands." After heavily injuring Qiyu with one blow, Snake 5 flicked the dust off his body. His face was cold and emotionless. "Snake 5, you really want to force me?" Seeing his own younger brother heavily injured in one blow, even the calm Qilong was enraged. Although his cultivation wasn't as high as Snake 5's, if it was a fight to the death, it wasn't like he had no chance of winning. The martial art that Snake 5 was proficient in was the 100 snake hands, which was a grade 2 martial art. On the other hand, the horizontal flying lightning slash that Qilong was proficient in was also a grade 2 martial art. Other than cultivation, the only thing that could affect the outcome of the battle was the difference in cultivation techniques. Chapter 16. Qilong, you think you're worthy? Snake 5 sneered as he looked at Qilong with disdain. The next moment, he waved his hand and shouted, "Little ones, come out and eat the meat and drink the soup." Swish, swish, swish. As soon as he finished speaking, more than 10 black-clothed people rushed out from the dense forest beside the cliff. They instantly surrounded Qilong and Qiyu in an aggressive manner. These black-clothed people had different strengths. The weakest was only at the 4th level of the body refinement realm, while the strongest was at the 6th level of the body refinement realm, like Chi-Yu. Moreover, Snake 5 was the leader and seemed to be members of the Spirit Owl Hunter group. A bunch of lackeys, come if you have the guts. Seeing that the other party was prepared and wanted to silence them, Chi Long laughed out loud. His determined face revealed an angry expression, as if he wanted to fight to the end. Don't worry, you won't be able to escape. But before that, we have to get rid of Fly. Snake 5 smiled coldly. His gaze was as gloomy as stagnant water. The next moment, he turned his head and looked at the treetop where Fei Run was hiding. Unlucky, I've been discovered. Seeing Snake 5's gaze, Fei Ren's expression changed slightly. Then, a trace of bitterness appeared at the corner of his mouth. Originally, he planned to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight to see if he could pick up some benefits. Now, it seemed that it was not possible. Moreover, he was in a dangerous situation. Snake 5 was an expert at the 8th level of the body refinement realm. He also had a group of subordinates from the hunter group. Whether it was one-on-one or in a group fight, Fei Ren had a hard time winning. Swish! Now that his whereabouts had been exposed, Fei Ren did not hide anymore. His body leaped and landed in front of the cliff with a serious expression. 3rd level of the body refinement realm? When did this kid? Seeing Fei Ren appear, Chi Long, who was ready to attack, was stunned. The Fei Ren in front of him was only at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. He was surprised that he could avoid the eyes of the majority of the people present. So it's a fly at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. I was wondering who you were. After sizing up Fei Ren for a moment, he discovered that the other party's cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the body refinement stage. His attire was completely ordinary, and he didn't seem to be a disciple from a large sect or clan. Snake 5 immediately waved his hand and ordered, "Kill him. Kill this brat. Vice Guild Leader Snake will reward you greatly. Brothers, charge. Kill." The aura of the surrounding group of black-clothed men soared as their words faded. Immediately, they waved the various weapons in their hands and charged towards Chi Long and Fei Run, who were at the center of the cliff. Die! Chi Long's brows raised slightly as he faced the group of black-clothed men that surrounded him. In the next moment, the large saber in his hand swept out horizontally. Piercingly cold origin energy mixed with strong winds slashed out numerous saber chi that fiercely descended onto the bodies of the black-clothed men, instantly killing them and causing blood to splatter in all directions. Although there were many black-clothed men, and they were all members of the Spirit Owl Hunter group, most of them were slightly weaker. The strongest was only at the 6th level of the body refinement stage. Even if all of them attacked together, there would not be a match for Chi Long horizontal flying lightning slash. With an explosive shout, Chi Long once again slashed out with his saber, instantly splitting the 2 black-clothed men into 2 halves. Blood flowed like a river. Chi Long, your opponent is this lord. Snake 5, who was watching the battle, shouted angrily when he saw a few of his subordinates being slashed in half by Chi Long's saber. Similarly, his figure shot out and used the 100 snake hands to entangle Chi Long. Surging origin energy transformed into several dozen snake shadows. Clang, clang. Layers upon layers of snake shadows wrapped around the large saber. Chi Long only felt a sharp pain coming from his palm. In the next moment, the large saber in his hand was actually sent flying and stabbed into the ground. His face became extremely pale. Damn it. Not only is Snake 5's cultivation higher than mine, even his cultivation method is the same. My origin energy is limited, so I can't defeat him with just the horizontal flying lightning slash. Forcefully suppressing the sweetness in his throat, Chi Long's gaze became serious. Snake 500 snake hands was a grade 2 martial art that had long been cultivated to perfection. It was not the slightest bit weaker than his horizontal flying lightning slash. It would not be easy for him to win. Moreover, Chi-Yu was injured at the side, so it would be difficult for him to deal with the besiegement of the black-clothed men. The current situation could be said to be near death. On the other side of the battlefield, Fei Run was honored to be besieged by 3 black-clothed men. All of them were at the 5th level of the body refinement realm and were not weak. Brat Doc, one of the black-clothed men, wielded a mace and charged towards Fei Run with a strange cry. Origin energy swept out, as if it did not put Fei Run, who was at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm, in his eyes. Noisy, his right hand touched the black fire rod behind him. Fei Run circulated all the origin energy in his body. Instead of retreating, he charged towards the black-clothed man to kill him. Clang! Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang out. Fei Ren's wrist shook, and in the next moment, the black fire rod took the opportunity to swing out diagonally. A fierce attack fiercely smashed into the black-clothed man's chest. Bang! A dull sound rang out. The black-clothed man's chest deeply caved in. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. He crashed to the ground without any signs of life. It was obvious that he was dead. Bastard brat, give me your life. Seeing their comrade being killed by Fei Run, who was at a higher level than him, the two black-clothed men beside him were unable to restrain their anger. They also shouted and charged towards him. The weapons in their hands were wildly swung, and origin energy swept out in all directions. All sorts of martial arts were like meteorites falling from the sky as they fell towards Fei Ren's head. Rumble, accompanied by a deafening sound. Fei Ren's figure was also submerged in the residual origin energy, bringing up a cloud of dust. Cough, cough. After a few breaths, the dust gradually dispersed. Fei Ren's figure slowly appeared at the same time. Not only did he not suffer any injuries, his cultivation had actually broken through again, reaching the 4th level of the body refinement realm. How is this possible? He's still not dead. 4th level of the body refinement realm. This brat actually broke through in the middle of a battle. Seeing that Fei Run was still unharmed, the surrounding group of black-clothed men, including Snake 5, were stunned. It was as if they were in disbelief. That was close. Luckily, I relied on the power of the Immortal refining cauldron to absorb the origin energy essence of the black-clothed men's corpses, and my cultivation broke through to the 4th level of the body refinement realm. Otherwise, with these few moves, I would have been heavily injured at the very least. As expected, cultivation is true strength. Feeling that his dantian was once again overflowing with origin energy, Fei Ren's face couldn't help but reveal a trace of fear and relief. Just now, under the cover of the dust, he secretly used the power of the Immortal refining cauldron to absorb the remaining essence of the black-clothed men's corpses on the ground. Only then was he able to break through and successfully step into the 4th level of the body refinement realm. Little brother, good job. Dare I ask for your name? Seeing that Fei Ren was safe and sound, Qilong's face was also filled with joy. At the same time, he brandished his blade to force back the attack of a black-clothed man and flashed to Fei Ren's side. Although he didn't know Fei Ren's origins and intentions, the enemy of an enemy was a friend. Now that Fei Ren had helped the two of them escape and forced back the encirclement of the Spirit Owl Hunter group and Snake 5, he was a true friend. Fei Ren, brother, you're too kind. In the face of Qilong's kindness, Fei Ren nodded slightly and didn't say much. Now that they were facing a great enemy, if it didn't take care of Snake 5 and the members of the Spirit Owl Hunter group, the crisis wouldn't be considered over. He wouldn't underestimate the enemy either. Big brother, I don't have much origin energy left in my body, and the torrential pear blossom darts have been exhausted as well. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on much longer. On the other side, the heavily injured Qi, you had also forced back the attacks of the black-clothed men. He flashed to Qilong's side. His face was pale, and traces of blood slowly flowed down his chest and arms. This brother is really tenacious. Looking at the heavily injured Qiyu, Fei Ren's expression was one of shock. Previously, Qi had been heavily injured by Snake 5. Now that he was facing the encirclement of a group of black-clothed men, it was already a feat for him to be able to hold on until now, without collapsing. Chapter 17. Second brother, sit down and recover your essence Chi. I'll help you stop these guys. Qilong gestured for Qiyu to heal first. The next moment, he looked at Fei Ren and muttered, Brother Fei Run, the Spirit Owl Hunter group is filled with shameless people who only care about benefits. We can only fight our way out of this encirclement, or we'll die here. Now that he had Fei Run as a helper, even if Snake 5 was at the 8th level of the body refinement realm, Qilong had a better chance of victory. All right, Fei Ren nodded lightly at Qilong's suggestion. After all, Snake 5's cultivation was not weak. If Qilong had not attracted his attention, escaping from the encirclement of the Spirit Owl Hunter group would have been impossible. There's something strange about this kid. Where did he come from? Seeing that his attack had been blocked, Snake 5 also raised his eyes to look at Fei Run, who was not far away. His face was as gloomy as stagnant water. Fei Run had killed a martial artist at the 5th level of the body refinement realm with his cultivation at the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. Moreover, he had broken through in the middle of the battle. His performance had already exceeded his expectations. Calling him a young genius was not an exaggeration. At least, some small families would not be able to nurture such a disciple. Vice Captain, although this kid's cultivation is not high, his essence Qi is abundant. He's no different from a normal 5th or 6th level of the body refinement realm. Moreover, the Qi brothers aren't weak either. If this drags on, even if we win in the end, I'm afraid that our brothers will suffer heavy losses. A black-clothed man also stepped forward from the side with a saber in hand. At the same time, he looked at Snake 5 and whispered in his ear. After a fierce battle, although they had surrounded the Qi brothers and Fei Run, the Spirit Owl Hunter group had also lost quite a number of men. About 5 or 6 members had died, and among them was an expert at the 6th level of the body refinement realm. Previously, he had been split into 2 by Qilong's horizontal flying lightning slash, so his corpse was nowhere to be found. Little brat, you insist on making me your enemy? Snake 5 questioned sternly, as if he was afraid of Fei Ren's mysterious background. He was not in a hurry to attack. I don't belong to any sect. If you want to fight, then bring it on. In the face of Snake 5's probing, Fei Ren grinned. He swung the black fire stick in his hand a few more times as he spoke indifferently. His tone was full of provocation. Although Fei Ren was a disciple of the Iron Palm Gate, he was just an errand boy. He didn't have much use. Furthermore, the Spirit Owl Hunter group had quite a reputation in Wuhan Town. Snake 5 was also the vice leader. Even if Fei Ren revealed his identity as a disciple of the Iron Palm Gate, the other party probably wouldn't be easily convinced. In the world of martial artists, only slaughter was the truth. Any argument was useless. Even if you were a descendant of a royal family, as long as you were not strong enough, you would die a violent death one day. No one would sympathize with you. This was also the law of the jungle in the Xian Star continent. Little brat, since you insist on seeking death, I'll send you on your way. All of you attack. Seeing that Fei Ren was still acting pretentious, Snake 5 lost his last bit of patience. He immediately waved his hand, and at the same time, his figure shot forward, aiming directly at Qilong. Fei Ren was only at the 4th level of the body refinement realm, so he wasn't much of a threat to Snake 5. Only Qilong, who was at the 7th level of the body refinement realm, was worthy of him making a move. Moreover, as long as he killed Qilong, the remaining Fei Ren and the heavily injured Qi, you would be like turtles in a jar. They wouldn't be able to escape at all. Kill! A wave of battle cries came from the cliff. The remaining group of black-clothed men all wielded weapons and charged towards Fei Ren. Again, you really think I'm easy to bully? Seeing the group of black-clothed men charging towards him, Fei Ren's face was slightly angered. He also waved the black fire stick to meet them head-on. Die for me! The black fire stick retracted in front of his chest, blocking the blade of a black-clothed man. In the next moment, Fei Ren gave a fierce shout. At the same time, rolling origin power surged out of his body. A heavy palm fiercely imprinted itself on the back of a 5th level of the body refinement realm black-clothed man. The powerful force instantly shattered his heart meridian, killing him on the spot. As expected, fighting is the only way to increase one's strength. After another strike of the stick forced back several black-clothed men, Fei Ren's feet fiercely stomped on the ground. His body soared into the air and landed on the empty ground beside him. His face was filled with astonishment. Just a moment ago, the condensing chi art that he cultivated had broken through to the perfect stage, causing his origin power to increase by quite a bit. Although the condensing chi art was the most common first-rank cultivation method, if it was cultivated to the perfect stage, it would greatly increase a martial artist's strength. Although Fei Ren had just broken through to the 4th level of the body refinement realm, his strength was already comparable to the 6th level of the body refinement realm. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of these ordinary members of the Spirit Owl Hunter group. In fact, he was able to handle them with ease. Not long after, he killed several more black-clothed men. 100 snake hands. On the other side, Snake 5's origin power surged as he grabbed at Qi Long's shoulder. His razor-sharp claws were mixed with origin power, bringing forth layers of snake shadows. Hiss, hiss. A large number of snake shadows flicked their tongues. Under the influence of origin power, they seemed to be vivid and lifelike. At the same time, they let out hissing sounds that caused one's heart to palpitate. Horizontal flying lightning slash. Faced with Snake 5's powerful attack, Qi Long naturally didn't dare to be careless. He also used his strongest killing move. He brandished his saber and slashed out countless saber chi. His origin power mixed with the saber chi and let out an ear-piercing sound of electricity. Shockingly, this was a decent second-rank martial art. Bang! Rumble! The snake shadows and the lightning saber chi collided head-on. In the next moment, there was a loud explosion. A large amount of origin power scattered outwards. At the same time, it brought forth a cloud of dust that covered the people on the cliff. It was obvious that the power of the attack was boundless. Swish! After a few breaths, a black figure swept past the cloud of dust and finally landed quietly on the ground. His face was gloomy. Shockingly, it was Snake 5. So this is the strength of the 8th level of the body refinement realm. Not bad, seeing that Snake 5 didn't suffer too many injuries in the fight. Fei Ren narrowed his eyes. Cough, cough, cough. Snake 5 cultivated a second-rank martial art. Regardless of cultivation or origin power, he is far superior to me. As expected, I can't fight him head-on. After Snake 5 appeared, Qi Long also escaped from the cloud of dust. However, his appearance was somewhat miserable. Not only was his hair disheveled, his clothes were tattered, and he also suffered some injuries. A barely noticeable trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. "You're not my opponent." Glancing at the injured Qi Long, Snake 5's eyes were cold and emotionless. "You are right, but if you want to kill me, it won't be that easy. Snake 5, look at your subordinates." With a bitter smile, Qi Long once again tightened his grip on the large blade in his hand. A playful expression appeared on his pale face. Although he wasn't Snake 5's opponent and Qi Yu beside him was heavily injured, there was still Fei Ren, an anomaly. The members of the Spirit Owl Hunter group weren't Fei Ren's opponent. In a short while, Fei Ren had finished off more than half of them. What? Hearing this, Snake 5's expression changed slightly. In the next moment, he flew into a rage. At this moment, he realized that the members of the Hunter group under his command were either dead or injured. Only a few members at the 5th level of the body refinement realm still had the ability to fight. Little bastard. Seeing Fei Ren slaughtering his way through the crowd while he was firmly held back by Qi Long and unable to extricate himself, Snake 5 was burning with rage. His face was twisted and ugly, and his cold eyes were filled with intense killing intent. "Vice Captain, this brat is too abnormal. We are not his opponent at all." Ah! Another scream rang out. A black-clothed man at the 5th level of the body refinement realm was blasted apart by Fei Ren's punch. He didn't even have the strength to resist. "Brothers, retreat. Bastard brat, We, the Spirit Owl Hunter Group, will remember this. And the two of you, just you wait. Seeing that his subordinates had suffered heavy losses and were about to face the risk of being wiped out, Snake 5 spoke out in anger. At the same time, he sent Chi Long flying with a palm strike. His figure retreated into the dense forest behind him. The few remaining Hunter Group members also fled and followed closely behind. Although Snake 5 was a high-ranking member of the Spirit Owl Hunter Group, he wasn't the captain after all. If his team was wiped out, not only would it damage the reputation of the Spirit Owl Hunter Group, but it would also be difficult for him to escape some punishment. Thus, he could only give up on killing Fei Run and the others. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.